I guess forget everything that we talked about yesterday when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas alongside Mike Gill. We're filling in for John and Andrew. They'll be back in on Tuesday. The Phillies were back in last night after what we saw in New York, and Kyle Schwarber was absolutely back in. The guy, a historic 4-home run performance at Citizens Bank Park. That's got to get you fired up. And I don't even know if that's the right thing to lead the show with, because the Dallas Cowboys made one of the dumbest trades in the history of the National Football League, sending Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers for essentially peanuts based on what his value should be. So we got the Phillies hitting more home runs than we could keep up with. Jerry Jones is trading away his best player less than a week ahead of when they will play here at Lincoln Financial Field to open the NFL season. My head is spinning. It's a holiday Friday ahead of Labor Day weekend here in Philadelphia, and boy, do we have a fun show for you. It's nice to do one of these shows, Mike, rather than what we did yesterday.
Now, listen, yesterday you were walking off the ledge. I told you today you might feel a lot better. Now, do you feel better? You got Schwarbombs and Schwarbombs and Schwarbombs. Oh, my.
Not really.
Oh, man.
I mean, it was
the one that bothers me the most is he should have had a fifth. He should have had a fifth. That was the pitch. That's the home run derby pitch right there. That's the one that next year at Citizens Bank Park in the derby, he's going to get that same pitch. And he popped it up.
That's all right. I didn't need five. Five would have been cool.
Imagine today an epic day of 5 Schwarbombs if he would have hit that out?
Our conversation is going to be the same if it was 4 or if it was 5. It's still a historic feat. He ties the record for most ever hit in a Major League Baseball game. It was unbelievable, and it was just what this team needed. And we're going to play something for you coming up. Actually, you know what? Let's just get to it right here, right off the rip, because Kyle Schwarber talked after the series with the New York Mets, and we played this for you yesterday. And honestly, I kind of tongue-in-cheek made fun of Kyle Schwarber for saying this yesterday about how the team wasn't phased and everything. Here's what Schwarber had to say after that drubbing in New York.
First off, I think that there's disappointment, right? Who likes to lose? No one likes to lose. But there's nothing that can really phase us. You know, I think that, we've been swept before this year. We bounced back. So we got to do the same thing, and I'm not worried about it. I know everyone's going to have the right mindsets going into the next series, and we go from there.
Boy, did they bounce back.
You know, this is one of the topics that really is interesting to me, Connor, because I am known to be very laid back, not a very irrational, reactionary person.
Yeah.
Game to game, night to night, you lose 13-0, don't care, because usually you win 13-0 one night, the next night you don't score any runs. Essentially what happened, they get shut out on Wednesday, they scored 19 runs on Thursday. I can't get too high and too low. But the people who generally attack, like Thompson gets attacked a lot because he's very monotone, comatose. I get people that message me all the time, comatose, no fire, no urgency. And I ask all the time, if Rob Thompson would have gone out there and flipped the trash can, would they have scored 25 runs, 30 runs? They scored 19 runs, and the night before you're complaining that there's no urgency. This is baseball. A guy going out there and flipping the trash can is not changing the fact that he hit 4 home runs last night. There was no urgency. There was no yelling. There was no getting ejected from the game. We don't need the manager to go out there and act like a clown show to get ejected for no reason. They scored 19 runs with no sense of urgency. So I'm so conflicted on, we're talking about the team with being, you gave me 3 words yesterday. Icky words.
Yes.
Do you remember them?
Yeah. Gutless.
Yes.
Quit.
Yes.
And,
quit.
mopey.
Gutless. All these mopies. And then last night, it was rocking and rolling. It was a party. We were having a good time at Citizens Bank Park.
And that does not bring me back.
You're not in.
Well, not totally. We will have that discussion deeper on.
You can tell I had coffee today. Yesterday, no coffee.
I can tell you had coffee. Yesterday was no coffee?
No coffee.
Yesterday, too.
5 minutes ago, you couldn't get me to say one word.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to go. Coffee.
We will have a deeper conversation about what this means for the Phillies. But listen, it's a Friday ahead of Labor Day weekend. You might be heading down the shore. You might be off work today to get an early start on it. Most of you are off Monday. Mike and I will be right back in here doing this. But my point is this. It was a tough week. The Phillies get their teeth kicked in by the Mets. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Hey, listen, it's a tough week for some of you who are looking at the Eagles and saying, hey, I like this player as a depth piece. They did not make the team. It's a tough week around the NFL with guys not making rosters. I think we need to smile today. And we got two big reasons to smile yesterday. And I want to know, right off the rip, phone line, text line, join in at 610-632-0975. Which made you smile more yesterday? Kyle Schwarber and his historic night hitting 4 home runs against the Atlanta Braves.
It's unbelievable.
Or Jerry Jones trading away Micah Parsons, making the Eagles' opening night that much easier, making the NFC East that much less scary, changing the way that we're going to look at the Cowboys, not just this year, but for years to come. Which one made you smile more as a Philadelphia sports fan? 610-632-0975. Mike, which one made you smile more?
It's gold, Jerry, gold. Jerry Jones is the gift that keeps on giving the whole year, Connor. You know, I was live on the air yesterday when this happened. So we're talking Phillies. Everybody's down. I'm getting all these reactions. And all of a sudden I said, hold up, everybody. This will put you in a much better mood. Not only did Micah Parsons, sorry, his name is not Michael Parsons. It's Micah Parsons. Not only did Micah Parsons get traded, he got traded for 2 first-round picks and a 30-year-old defensive tackle, who at one point's a pretty solid defensive tackle. But some of the stuff we're going to hear from Jerry Jones on this very program today is gold, Jerry, gold. It's epic, some of the stuff he said. But I smiled from ear to ear because of the carnival barker that is Jerry.
Now, I'll tell you, for me, it was Schwarber that made me smile more, the 4 home run game. So this is nice because we're going to go back and forth. There is no way to really rank those two. What we do, just to take you behind the curtain a little bit, is we'll sit down and the thought process when you're doing these shows is what is the big story? What is the lead for the day? I couldn't decide between Schwarber and Micah. I mean, they're both monster stories that affect the Philadelphia sports scene directly.
Well, I don't know where this would have fit in because I was thinking about this last night. Bader almost hit for a cycle.
I know, right?
That was in the mix, too.
That would have been a footnote.
I mean,
what a weird
I looked
game
it up. There's been like 350 people that have hit for the cycle, but for some reason I fear that it's such a rarity. Like this is the 3rd time this year that someone hit 4 home runs in a game.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Suarez, Nick Kurtz,
yes.
and Kyle Schwarber.
Now, the last time somebody hit for the cycle, Byron Buxton did it a couple months ago, but I feel like the cycle is never like that's really hard to do. Like, you have to try to do that almost.
There have been less perfect games in Major League history than there have been 4 home run games. And you want to hear something?
21, right?
The 21st was last night with Kyle Schwarber.
And the only one I ever remember is Mark Whitten. For whatever reason, whenever someone hits 4 home runs in a game, it's always Mark Whitten to me.
Well, I'll remember this one. And part of the reason that I picked Schwarber as the news that made me smile more, the moments that made me smile more yesterday, is because Micah Parsons did not just disappear from the NFL. Later on in the show, we are going to make fun of the Cowboys, and the text line, the phone line is open to make fun of the Cowboys today at 610-632-0975. But where he went means the Eagles will see him. And I had some people telling me, well, at least they only play him once. Well, that may not be true.
Last year you played them twice.
Yes, you did. So there's a lot to break down with both of these stories. You want to hear something? One more funny tidbit on the 4-homer game. You know this is the 2nd time it's happened against the Braves this year?
What, Suarez do it?
I believe it was Suarez.
Okay.
I know that one of the other two, it was Suarez, Sean Rodman, who's on the board. So the Braves have had 2 instances of giving up 4 home runs.
By the way, Rodman, let me ask you a question real quick.
What's that?
Now, he produced for me the day after the Brewers. What was the score of that game?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't actually remember that one.
Well, whatever it was, they got bombed, and my man stayed the whole game.
Yeah.
People left that game last night. There were people that, like, at the end of the game, right, that looked like the bleachers had thinned out a little bit.
You got stuff you got to do.
Not when you got a guy with 3 home runs. Do the math. I did it. I said, oh, man, he's 5 batters away from batting in the 8th again.
Dude, we woke up at 4 a.m. this morning. I don't blame anybody.
3:30 for this guy.
Yeah, 3:30 for you. I don't blame anybody who, like, wants a game's in hand.
Oh, I stayed up for that, and then I watched East Carolina and NC State. What a mismanagement of the clock. Man, football's back.
We'll talk a little college football later as well, but plenty of stuff to discuss. Again, our opening question, which made you smile more yesterday? Kyle Schwarber's 4 home run historic night or Jerry Jones tearing the Cowboys down from within. Coming up next, we're going to start with a breakdown of Schwarber. We got something great to hear from you that Sean Rodman has put together, and we're just going to go through some of the wild numbers of his performance last night, because historic almost doesn't even begin to describe what Kyle Schwarber did. We'll talk about it coming up next. I'm Connor Thomas, along with Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board. We're in for John and Andrew here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bowe, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
My goodness. Just bask in the glory for the second, folks, of a 4-home run night on the day that your most hated football team trades away their best player. Like, if we needed that, let me ask you something real quick, Mike, because this is a tongue-in-cheek question. I'm Connor Thomas, along with Mike Gill, filling in for John and Andrew. They'll be back on Tuesday after the Labor Day holiday. I don't want to put this out to people because I'll get ripped for it, but just a fun in-the-room question here. Was it worth watching the Phillies get swept by the Mets to see a 4-home run night on the day Micah Parsons gets traded?
Listen, it was the most apropos way that the Phillies could answer everything that happened in New York. Now, I don't know what that did to soothe the soul of the Phillies fan out there. I don't think all of a sudden you hit 4 home runs, score 19 runs, and all of a sudden say, I'm back, baby. This is a World Series team. Because you've already said you're kind of still trepidatious.
No, it doesn't do all that much for me because I know this team is talented. The problem with the Phillies team is not the talent of the roster. The problem with the Phillies team is
there is nothing they can do the rest of the way to win you over.
No, there absolutely is.
Oh, I'm interested in this.
They can Listen, they got a month left of baseball, and they don't have to win me over. Like, I'm not going – dude, it's not football. It's not basketball. Like, I'm not going to go into the postseason if I'm a Dodgers fan, Brewers fan, Mets fan, Phillies fan, Cubs fan, any fan, and say this team's going to win the World Series.
Yeah.
Like, there's just too much up in the air. So it's not about winning me over. But I need to see that when you're in those gut check moments in the postseason, you're going to bear down and get the job done. And that Mets series broke some of that confidence for me. And beating Cal Quantrill and the Braves,
he's horrible,
does not undo what they did against the Mets.
No,
so
you're absolutely right. But you yesterday, were very down.
Yeah.
And this was the only result that can get you at least to lean back. Like, if they would have won 5-4 last night and it was just like a regular night at the ballpark, that game you don't get. That game is a one-in-a-season game, a 4-home-run game, a 19. By the way, lost in the thing that the guy hits 4 home runs, as we talked about. One guy almost hit for the cycle. JT hit a ball that's still flying. It almost hit my car on the way here this morning.
Bryce went upper deck.
That was a titanic blast. Max Kepler, it was again a night where no Castellanos.
Yeah.
And Kepler answers the call. I mean, they had almost a perfect night at the ballpark. It's the only game that you could have asked for to at least move the needle this way as opposed to the opposite direction.
And while we're giving out credit, Aaron Nola takes sole possession of third all-time on the Phillies' all-time strikeout list. Even though he had a tough first inning, settles in very nicely. Now,
did he win you over at all last night?
We'll get into that later because there are some things that we learned from last night's game that we will need to discuss, but not quite there yet, and for good reason. I think it's totally warranted. But let's start with this Schwarber conversation because what he did last night was historic in many ways. So he has 4 home runs, obviously. Ties the Major League home run record for a single game. Ties the Phillies franchise record for home runs in a single game. 9 RBIs. Breaks the Philadelphia Phillies single game record for runs batted in. And the Phillies absolutely dominated them. I want you to hear for a second because these were not cheapies either. Sean Rodman, who's producing the show today, put this together. Those are the words we're looking for.
But by the way, Connor, you're absolutely right, dude. Every one of them was a Titanic. None of them were cheapos.
No.
They were all Schwarbombs.
He doesn't hit cheap ones, and we don't give you cheap stuff here on the show, so we put together something great as far as what Kyle Schwarber accomplished last night. If you missed it, take a listen.
Ofer's last 20. Ofer's last 22 is his longest stretch in his career. His last hit was his 45th home run of the year against Seattle. And that one is smoked deep to right field toward the second deck. Solo home run for Kyle Schwarber. His 46th of the year. It's his 5th home run in his last 10 games against the Braves. Phillies with 9 hits already. We're just in the 4th inning. That one is drilled deep to right field toward the pole. Gone! Second home run of the night. This one a 2-run shot. 47 on the year. 10-3 Phils. I think the slump might be over. That was the opposite way. Profar's going back. It's carried pretty well. It is gone! It's a 3-home run night. It's his 4th one of his career. He decided to go oppo. 15-3 Phils.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Oh, there it is. A 4-homer night for Kyle Schwarber. My goodness, what a performance. Give that man the MVP. Come on, Shohei Ohtani.
About the contract extension.
Well, that's got to happen. But right now, something that we can kind of control the narrative on, give the man the
I want to
National
check the
League
MVP odds this morning. Did they move?
They had to have.
What do you think?
4 home runs. He's still going to be the heavy underdog to Shohei Ohtani.
Let's take a look at this for you.
I imagine Ohtani is still minus 4 figures.
Right now, the MVP, Ohtani is minus 1,000.
Exactly.
Schwarber plus 500.
Okay.
So
closing the gap a little
value. If you really, really are out there and you feel like, dude, this guy's going to go on a monster September run, this is probably the best value you might get.
It is. It is. I would tell you don't waste your money because I know the Shohei Ohtani narrative just exists too strongly in baseball.
Interestingly enough, they're both DHs. I know Ohtani's pitching now, but everybody was like a DH can't win it. Now you have two DHs that are the top two guys for the MVP right now.
Absolutely. I would like to see Kyle Schwarber win MVP. I just told you. I think he should be. But either way, just enjoy this season he's putting together right now and what they did. And something that we want to open up the text line to as well is what you've been asking me, Mike. How much did this make up for the Mets series for you? Did this do anything? Was this just a fun night at the ballpark? Are you all the way back in? It's a very tough baseball team to evaluate, so I'd love to hear from you on that, 610-632-0975. Coming up next, it wasn't just Kyle Schwarber. Phillies offense in general woke up in a really big way. But I'll give you my thoughts a little bit deeper on why one game is not going to change everything for me and why last night kind of ticked me off as much as it did make me happy. See if you understand where I'm coming from on this one, Mike. It's Kincade and Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas alongside Mike Gill. Sean Rodman on the board. We're back after this here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber can't stop going yard. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Schwarber hit not one, not two, not three, but 4 home runs last night, and here's number 4.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
He is only the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a game and the 4th Philly to hit 4 in a single game. The last Philly to do it was Mike Schmidt in 1976. Kyle Schwarber has the second most home runs in a single season currently by a Philly at 49, just 10 behind Ryan Howard's 59 in 2006. The Dallas Cowboys have reportedly traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers, and the Eagles and Cowboys meet less than a week from today, 6 days to be exact, at Lincoln Financial Field to open up the season. Then the Eagles have also reportedly adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to the practice squad, a former third-round pick from the 49ers who was originally from Michigan University. This update is sponsored by your local Can-Am dealer. Right now through October 31st, take advantage of the Can-Am factory sales on select 2025 Can-Am side-by-side or ATV vehicles. Conditions apply. Visit your local Can-Am dealer for details. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Previously on Unfiltered.
When you sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I mean, it's hard not to just laugh in disbelief right now. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill. We're filling in for John and Andrew. They'll be back on Tuesday. Hopefully they're enjoying their vacation. But you're going to hear a couple of clips throughout the show. We already played you one from Kyle Schwarber that we played yesterday. You're going to hear a couple of clips that we played yesterday because it's hard not to sit in this chair today and think about yesterday's performance by the Philadelphia Phillies, putting up 19 runs. Kyle Schwarber, 4 home runs. Harrison Bader almost hitting for the cycle. Harper goes yard. Kepler goes yard. Like, everybody hits. Everybody scores. Everything happens right for that team. And not just be like, wow, well, we kind of have to revisit just about everything that we talked about yesterday, including the reaction to the Mets series. Our big question with 2 big stories. We're not going to ignore the Micah Parsons news. No, we will get into that in this hour. Coming up next segment is when we will turn our attention to Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys, and the state of the NFC East. But it's hard not to look back at what we talked about yesterday and see things in a different light today, and I hope you are as well. Our first question to you is, what made you smile more? The Kyle Schwarber 4 home run game or the news of Micah Parsons being traded for peanuts to the Green Bay Packers? Both are great options, and you could join in on the phone line and text line 610-632-0975. Mike, we need to smile today because it's a holiday weekend getting started. People are heading down the shore, which might not make you smile because I know you like the shore a little bit quieter.
What is the traffic going to be like when I head home today?
I don't know. I'm going to be heading down to North Wildwood at around noon.
And what time does the madness begin? Because I need to get back down there.
You got another show you got to do down there today.
It's a happy hour Friday, though, man. I'm in a good mood. Somebody give me a good recommendation for the weekend.
Yeah, grab a beer as soon as we're done this. It's going to be great. So, nice little 10:30 a.m. beer. Oh, that sounds lovely right now. But there was part of this, Mike.
Yeah.
That actually annoyed me yesterday. So I want to play something that we did yesterday. Jason Stark talked about it earlier this week on Unfiltered with Bill Colarulo, Ricky Bo, Silvana Kelleher, 2 to 6. You can hear it on these airwaves. You can watch it on NBC Sports Philadelphia. They do a wonderful job. Jason Stark talked about the Mets potentially having tells on the Phillies relievers. I want you to hear this one more time.
I think the Mets have tells on every Phillies reliever and know what's coming. Bryce alluded to this against Christopher Sanchez the other night. I honestly do not think that he's just throwing stuff out there like he's guessing. I think this is a real thing.
Clearly, more legitimacy has been lended to that clip from Jason Stark by the performance last night. Now, one game over the course of 162, no matter how good, no matter how bad, cannot change my perspective on the team, right? That is too much volatility over the course of a baseball season. But yesterday was amazing. And the reason why it kind of ticks me off, Mike, is because it really is just the Mets. And part of you
lost last night.
Lost to the Marlins 7-4 at home at Citi Field in that same building where the Phillies couldn't seem to beat a Little League team, much less the New York Mets. And part of that is like, guys, really, that team has so much power over you? And that annoys me because you should be able to get up for those games. You should be able to play that team better. You're going to have to play them hard when they come down to Citizens Bank Park. And you could meet them in the postseason, which is still going to terrify everybody, regardless if the Phils win out.
They did jump back into the 2 spot.
They did.
Yes, last night they did. Dodgers didn't play, so the half game, they must have the tiebreaker over the Dodgers.
Right. But you could still, listen, the Mets are a team that they seem to show up on big stages, at least this iteration of that Mets team, to some extent. We know that that's not a World Series team. But are they a team that can knock the Phillies out? Absolutely.
They're interesting, man. They're going to bring up their top pitch. We saw McClain pitch the other night. He's not their best pitching prospect. He's pitching tonight. They're bringing up 2 young kids and saying, you know what, let's go for this thing. They think they have, everybody's got up and down offense. The Phillies do, the Mets do, the Brewers do, everybody's offense goes up and down, up and down. The Mets are saying, if we could get some pitching, we're there. So they're saying, we're going to throw our cards or chips in the middle of the table and go with our young guys.
Yeah, which, listen, they need to because they need that spark. That was big for them against the Phillies, and you breathed life into the Mets for the stretch run here. But that's still a team that's been largely floundering since the trade deadline. So we'll keep an eye on them in the divisional race. But
have to.
It just bothers me that that's the team you can't beat. That the team you most need to beat is the one that seems to own you. And then you come back to the bank and you look like a totally different baseball team. And people might say, oh, well, Cal Quantrill, he stinks. Look at Sean Manaea's numbers this year. Look at how he's done against pretty much every other team. He diced you up in that series. So it's not just, oh, you saw a pitcher who's not very good. There were Mets pitchers in that series who had rough starts and rough appearances that year, or this year, I should say, the bullpen included, and you couldn't figure them out. So, while it is great to see the Phillies have that bounce-back performance last night.
You know what? And one of the things about it, sorry, Connor, that really bewilders you is in sports, when you give your thoughts, you think you have the right answer, right? Yeah. That's why we love sports. We give opinions, and we do what we do, and sports fans counteract and say, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. We just have different opinions sometimes. But in this one, nobody knows why the Phillies can't win at Citi Field. That is the part that is so bewildering to sports fans is this whole concept of you're playing the same game in a different building, and yet you look like that in that building. You play on the same 60-90 dimension field in this building, and you look like that last night.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't think anybody gets it. I don't think the Phillies get it. I don't know. And my question to you now is, do you feel that, because you're still trying to keep the positivity yesterday, which I appreciate even though I wasn't in that spot.
Well, I don't get too high or too down based on stuff. My overall I'm a very big picture.
Yeah.
The big picture to me is, can this team win a World Series? Sure. Do I expect them to? I don't think they're the favorite. Can they? Yes. Will they? If you ask me to give a definitive on that, I would say, will they win the World Series? No, I would be surprised. But can they? Yes. So I can't take every single game, series, night, pocket of game. I'm going to use the word pocket, right?
Yeah.
This pocket here. And I can't make a generalization on the big picture based on a pocket.
Do you feel like they could beat any team not named the New York Mets?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, when they played the Braves in 2022, did anybody think that they were the favorite in that series?
No.
No, and they went and whipped them, and then it turned into this thing where the Braves now don't want to play here, and the Phillies played them again the next year and beat them again, and then the narrative was, and by the way, the Braves had won the East both years by 14 games. They were 14 games better than you in 2022 and 2023, and you beat them. So there is no team that you feel like, no, I can't. They've beaten the Dodgers this year. They've handled the Dodgers. They've beaten the Cubs. So there's no team that you play where you're like, you're just not better than that team. The Dodgers probably have more talent, but the Phillies have beaten them over the years.
But yes, you've played them well. And that's the thing. I'm sitting here today still feeling that the Phillies can beat any team not named the New York Mets in a postseason series.
You know what's interesting about the Phillies-Dodgers matchup is the Dodgers their pitching staff has not been healthy. They don't have that number one shutdown guy that, can be the kryptonite to your offense. And what is good about the Dodgers is their offense, and you supposedly have this great pitching. I don't know what we think about the pitching right now. I do feel like it was almost like the high and now the come down a little bit of they lost Zach Wheeler, man. Can you name another team in baseball that loses a pitcher that's number 2 in the Cy Young at the time and you're like, yeah, they could still be fine? It's a big loss, and I think it's kind of being minimalized by the fact that they got Duran. That has kind of covered it up a little bit. And they have good starting pitching outside of Wheeler, but they don't have a Zach Wheeler, dude.
No, they might. And we'll keep an eye very closely on what Christopher Sanchez looks like in this series against the Braves.
But did the enormity of him being the number 1 guy finally hit him in Citi Field?
Maybe, and we need more data points on that. So we will see. But I'm sitting here today feeling like, okay, well, at least we know that it's not the Phillies are collapsing. They just can't play the Mets. Does that make you feel better or make you feel worse?
Is that even accurate?
It's accurate. It's very accurate. They can't play that team. And the only way that they will prove otherwise is by doing it in the 4-game series at the bank.
They win that series 3-1. How are you going to feel? Different?
Can't go to Citi Field.
It's a Citi Field thing. It's not the Mets. It's Citi Field.
We will see. By the way, if you want to see that live when the Mets come here to Citizens Bank Park, we have a pair of tickets to Phillies Mets on September 10th that we will be giving away in this show today. So you can win a pair of tickets to see the Mets come to town. And, we could have given away just a little peek behind the curtain. We've had these all week to give away. We were like, we can't do it after they get smoked by the Mets. So we held them out till today. Your chance to win comes up later on in the show, so stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'm Connor Thomas alongside Mike Gill, in for John and Andrew. Coming up next, we're going to turn to the Micah Parsons conversation. We mentioned it, but we haven't dove too deep into it. It's Jerry's time to shine here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
Kowalski punches it.
Yeah.
fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Segment and get the reaction from some people on both the Micah Parsons trade and Kyle Schwarber's historic 4-home run night and the questions we've been asking today so far on the show. I'm Connor Thomas alongside Mike Gill. We've been focused on the Phillies because that is the internal, right? I always like to evaluate internally before we look at stuff that other teams that are doing that affect our teams. But we have to give a lot of conversation to this Micah Parsons trade. It is NFL-altering news that came down yesterday afternoon. Micah Parsons traded by the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round picks and a defensive tackle in Kenny Clark, who has been a 3-time Pro Bowler, but is also going to turn 30 this year. And Jerry Jones, man, can I just say I love you? I appreciate you. Never give up control of that franchise. God knows you love the spotlight, and you're going to get it today on Kincade Salciunas. Because to me, that was one of the dumbest trades that I can remember in my time following the NFL. Like, moving on from Micah Parsons and what he can be for that defense is absolutely incredible. Like, if it was anybody else, let's just pick a random NFL franchise. If it was the Cincinnati Bengals and they traded Trey Hendrickson for peanuts.
Got close.
They certainly did. I'd be sitting here today telling you, the ownership of that team, they got to go. Sell the team if you don't want to win. Like, you are actively hurting your team's chances, and I never want to see that happen to other teams because I feel for those fan bases. You can't control that when you have an owner that doesn't want to pay players or doesn't want to win or doesn't handle their business properly, or if it's a GM who's just negligent in their role with the team. But for the Cowboys, we're not sitting here crying for Dallas fans today.
No, we're not. But I think most sports fans, or I don't want to say that, but like generally you don't think of the owner intruding the team, right? But now we know how important the ownership is to the success of a team.
Yes.
Normally it's the players and maybe the coach and the manager or whoever. Now, as we've evolved in the sports, the GM is now involved. We blame the GM a lot. But it goes up to the owner for the GM to do what he can do. Roseman is awesome at his job, but he can only be awesome because Lurie allows him to be awesome. In other words, they can't kick the can down the road with these contracts the way they do or give these upfront monies the way they do without Lurie saying, I'll give the money up front. Mike Brown's not doing that. He's not going to the GM and saying, hey, here's $27 million for signing the contract. Here you go. So they can't get creative with the contracts the way that Lurie allows them. And Jones being the owner and the GM is just the GM might get fired or at least be on the hot seat for the way that this whole thing was handled.
But that can't happen in Dallas.
It can't happen.
Because the owner is the GM is the owner. And it's a beautiful day to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
It just makes you laugh. It really does.
Also, like what more could you ask for? With less than a week till kickoff of the NFL season, that team is going to roll into your building. And Jerry Jones loves the spotlight. He's going to have it Thursday night when the Birds play the Boys to open the NFL season. And they're going to do so less than a week after trading a franchise cornerstone player, to me, the best player on that roster, and not getting equal return for what he's worth. It's just an ultimate lapse in ability to run a football team. And this is why the Cowboys are who they are. And it also shows you why the Eagles have become who they are.
Yeah, the Cowboys are the ultimate, example of how marketing works. The team hasn't been relevant in 30 years. Obviously, they've won nothing. They have basically been kind of a sideshow. They are like a clown show, sideshow run by a carnival barker. But they market themselves. The one thing that Jones has done very, very, very well is he has marketed that team still 30 years later of irrelevancy as America's team. I laugh all the time. There are people, obviously, that live in this area that somehow have come up Cowboy fans, which I laugh. It's like, how did you become a Cowboys fan? Well, my uncle put me in front of the TV, and I always loved the Star. Okay, you were 12. Do you still play with toys? Like, at some point, you got old enough to say, all right, this is stupid. I'm a fan of a team that's irrelevant. My uncle was an idiot. I don't need to sit in front of the television and watch this team with the Star. I have a team right here that I can actually go and watch. The fact that he has marketed it to those people and said, hey, keep cheering for us, and I'm going to keep screwing it up. At what point do those people say, what am I doing?
Oh, they already have, but they're in too deep. They're it's Stockholm Syndrome for Cowboys fans right now. Their captor, Jerry Jones, has owned them and their well-being as football fans for decades, and he has not delivered in decades on what they believe is possible for their team. And every year, they are the laughingstock of the NFL. And this year, they've one-upped themselves. I did not think that the Dallas Cowboys in the year 2025 would be able to, again, raise the bar for being able to be laughed at by their peers. And yet, Jerry Jones said, just wait 1 minute, young man. I'm going to set a new bar for dumb ownership and dumb roster management.
Well, I've said for years about this team, they do a good job of drafting. They have talent. They have, sometimes you're like, they're more talented than, say, Philadelphia is. But in the end, the ownership and the management of that team is outclassed by the ownership and the management of the Philadelphia Eagles. And it shows you how important ownership and management is at that sport. Because sometimes on the field, they have had teams that you're like, what's wrong with this team? They've had 13-win teams that come up short. And in the end, those 13-win teams can't continue to grow because they have these contract decisions and they bleep it up just like this one.
Yes, the Cowboys are a perfect example of very artificial prettiness, right? Think about it. And I'm going to take a ricochet shot. I don't know these women either way, but the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, well, you know how it is, right? They have long been the pinnacle of what beauty is for women being part of the NFL in the cheerleader role, right? And you think about, the pretty blonde girl, the cowboy hats, everything, the boots. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, they have that esteem about them. But it would be like if you went out with one of them and you realize, just a garbage personality. Nothing to talk about, boring, maybe a bad person. I'm not saying about that specifically, those women specifically, but you get my point. That's what the Cowboys are. Face value, they've got the giant stadium. They've got all the bells and whistles. They have the evaluation of how much their franchise is worth. But when you look at the actual breakdown of the personality, they got nothing behind the artificial, what you see on the outside.
Let me ask you this question. We've been ripping them. We're laughing at them because they always make the wrong move. Did they finally make the right move? And we're just laughing at them because they always make the wrong move. They always give – the contract discussion always comes up, and then they overpay Dak Prescott. They overpay Zeke Elliott. They overpay. Did they finally say, I'm not going to overpay anymore? Let's make the right decision. Are we so trained to laugh at them for making the wrong, irrational contract signing? And they said, you know what, we're not going to do it anymore. We're not signing a linebacker for this price. We're actually going to trade him.
No, they did not make the right decision. No, this is not them finally rewriting the narrative. This is not us just using our blind Dallas Cowboys hatred to laugh at them. This is just flat out stupid in every sense. And if you make a move that is heavily controversial to your fan base, you at least better have a strong justification for why.
Well, everybody laughed at the Mavericks when they traded Luka. And in hindsight,
they still should be. They did nothing to get the number 1 overall pick. The Mavericks are dumb. The Cowboys are dumb. Dallas fans, we're going to talk about that later on.
Well, let me ask you this real fast.
Lucky.
Think about this as you're driving around right now. Thursday night, it should all be about the Super Bowl team, the banner, the Eagles. This is going to overtake that, you know.
I do not care. That's fine. Take the headlines. We'll take the wins.
Here's a Schefter tweet real quick. Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys for $140 million. Micah Parsons, $188 million.
He's worth every penny. I'll tell you right now, he is worth every bit of that
according
contract.
to Jera.
The Green Bay
Packers. And he said something that tells you what he really thinks about Micah.
We will hear from Jerry coming up next because he followed up a terrible move with the terrible press conference. Get ready to laugh, folks. You hear from Jerry Jones in the wake of the Micah Parsons trade next year on Kincade Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas alongside Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board, filling in for John Andrew. We're back after this.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber can't stop going yard. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Kyle Schwarber hit not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 home runs yesterday. And, well, take a listen to the history here.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Kyle Schwarber became only the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a single game and only the 4th Philly to do so. The last Philly to do it was Mike Schmidt in 1976. Schwarber has the second most home runs in a single season by a Philly as he currently sits at 49, just 10 behind Ryan Howard's 59 in 2006. Dallas Cowboys have traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers for 2 firsts and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. Back to Dallas, the Eagles and Cowboys meet 6 days from today at Lincoln Financial Field. And the Eagles are also adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to the practice squad, a former 3rd-round pick from the 49ers. This update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Looking for an exceptional drive experience? Experience the power, precision, intelligence of an iconic Mercedes-Benz SUV at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer today. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Join the Fanatic for the inaugural live broadcast of Unfiltered with Rick.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bowe, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
For 3 straight games against the Mets, come back and put 19 on the Braves. 4 home runs from Kyle Schwarber. A historic performance by him. And then the Cowboys just move on from a young, talented player. I saw something in the YouTube chat. Let me find exactly who said this. Shout out our YouTube. As always, we are live there. Haley back running the YouTube today. And someone, because you asked the question about was that potentially a trade where we're just making fun of the Cowboys, Mike, but it may actually work out for the better. MBD checks in and says, whenever you trade a 26-year-old who's going to be wearing a gold jacket, it's not a good trade. And that's kind of where I sit on this one. There is no way that trading Micah Parsons would have been good for the Cowboys in any way, much less the return they got.
I will say, he's awesome, okay? He's an awesome player. They haven't won with him. And there is that fine line, like, you draft Myles Garrett number 1 overall. It's not doing anything to change that franchise. So there is a conflict of interest in your mind of this player's great, but what is it doing for my team? Like, you get Myles Garrett the contract that he wanted with the Browns. If the Browns were smart, they probably would have traded him. He's not changing their franchise. When J.J. Watt was with the Texans, awesome player. Didn't do anything to change their franchise. Jacksonville drafts Trayvon Walker number 1 overall. Now, he's not on the same level as those guys. You draft that guy number 1, you're hoping that he changes your defense. Hasn't happened.
Well, they can't win by themselves. You're right in that. But
that's why it's hard to come to terms of paying that guy.
I strongly disagree. Like, the Eagles are not going to have any trouble coming to terms with paying Jalen Carter. And that's not going to restrict them from winning. It's the fact that those organizations get one guy and
they're
they can't
already
build
winning.
around him. Exactly. But even if they weren't, they would keep that guy.
But that's why the Eagles are in a different situation. They struck gold, hit, and now they can start to do the things with the other pieces that other teams start with, like those guys. The Eagles start with the offensive line, pay those guys so that they can be successful with, other areas of the team. And then they don't put a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball. They draft, they hit. They let those guys walk. They draft again. They haven't really had to pay anybody yet.
Yeah, but the Cowboys had a great offensive line. They didn't win. They've paid a quarterback. They didn't win. They've paid defensive players. They didn't
also
win.
Paid a running back a lot of money. That was a bad decision.
And that's it. It's not so much paying a guy like Micah Parsons, because I think you always should when you get that guy in your building. It's you also have to build around these star players, and they're not competent enough at continuing to do that.
I will say, I'm not trying to be like the Cowboy guy this morning. I don't want to be, believe me, but they've had a ton of injuries, including Micah Parsons. Like, they had a ton of injuries on that team last year. They've had so many injury issues that, it's hard for them to overcome. They're playing with Cooper Rush.
You can make that team healthy. They're still not winning anything. They'll win more games, but they're not winning.
They went 13-3 and got bounced out of the playoffs. We've seen what they are at their ceiling and their height. I agree with that.
Yeah, they're just a broken organization. We're very happy to watch them break more. You're going to hear from Jerry Jones in just a little bit as you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. We're powering possibilities. But I want to open up our text line today because a lot of people have been chiming in on both the Kyle Schwarber performance last night, 4 Schwarbombs for you, and the Micah Parsons trade. So, Sean, what do we have on the text line?
All right, first we have Chris in Jackson, New Jersey, says, what made him smile more? Schwarber, definitely, especially since you mocked him yesterday, Connor.
Yeah, listen, you got to understand where I was coming from on that. The idea that you can go into Citi Field and look listless, and then you have that comment from Kyle Schwarber that we played for you earlier where he talks about the team not being phased. We've bounced back before. We've been here before, all of this stuff. Hey, we heard the same thing from Larry Boa in a clip that we played yesterday where he's like, I'm not concerned with this. They're a veteran team. Mm-hmm. So I get people being like, I mocked Schwarber yesterday, sure. But I couldn't not. That team looked lost, and they didn't show any signs of a performance like what we had last night. And I'm glad that they did. That's why we had the conversation earlier this hour, or last hour, now that it's past 7 o'clock, about how there was part of last night that kind of ticked me off. Like, why couldn't you do this in New York? But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Last night was awesome. That was great to see from the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, and so as I told you yesterday, I'm a pretty laid-back dude in terms of, I don't get too high, too low, so I don't need Rob Thompson or Kyle Schwarber or anybody else to go crazy over getting swept. I get it. In the moment, it's okay, and I have no problem people who react in that way. That's just not my personality, but I'm not going to say, Connor, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? You're a fan, you've invested, you're angry. That's a logical reaction to what you watch. But I personally didn't need Kyle Schwarber to come out and say, we've got to be better. This is an embarrassment. He didn't do that, and look at the result. So I hope it's like the evolution of watching them saying, you know what, the last time they struggled, he came out and hit 4 home runs. Does he really need to come out and tell you that they're embarrassed? They're embarrassed.
Right.
I got news for you. Behind closed doors, they're probably saying, what the bleep is going on with,
Absolutely.
But outside, it's the weirdest thing in sports where you want guys to say something, then they do say something, they get criticized for saying something, then when they don't say something, you want them to be angrier. There is no win here.
No, I don't mind that he said it, and I don't care about the tone. I don't need him to yell. I'm not a Rob Thompson needs more emotion guy. It's just if you're going to say that.
Thankfully, Connor.
Yeah, well.
I like you more than I already did.
I appreciate that, Mike. But it's more if you're going to say that, you damn well better show up after you do. And guess what? The Philadelphia Phillies did. Now, if you're going to say what Jerry Jones said, you damn well better have a good plan. So let's hear a little bit. Jerry Jones followed up one of the worst trades I can remember in NFL history with one of the worst press conferences I can remember.
That was bad. He gave an 11-minute answer.
Yeah. We're not going to play all of that one for you, but let's start with the initial reaction as to why the trade was made from Jerry Jones' messed up mind and why a fresh start is something that they were looking for in Dallas.
Well, again, we've certainly got a new coaching staff, and a third of all the players are new. And so obviously there is freshness. We'll use the word new on that basis. But we have the highest paid player in the NFL at quarterback. And we made that commitment last year, and we're proud we made it. It had everything to do with this decision. Mm-hmm. Everything. It is give us every opportunity with Dak Prescott and Lamb and the base that we've got to win now. And so all you need to do, this would, I'm not so sure this would have been results had we not had Dak. But the fact that we have Dak, we need to stop the run. We really do. We need to get the ball back.
You need to stop the run and get the ball back. Great, in theory, Jerry. And yes, you have Dak Prescott, who you paid a lot of money to, and you think that this is going to what? Open you up to build more around Dak? I'm sorry. We are talking about Dak Prescott. We're not talking about Patrick Mahomes or Lamar, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, right? We're talking about the playoff choker, Dak Prescott, that you guys overpaid, that then immediately got injured. Like, I get it. You got to justify some way that you couldn't get a deal done with your star player, but that to me is not a good justification. And then he follows it up with talking about the return, because, hey, maybe at least if you traded him for something great that you could turn into greatness for your team, beautiful. But, Mike, his justification for what he could do with the picks he got for the Packers, hear what Jerry had to say.
We have a chance to get a minimum of 3, and it could very easily be as many as 5 really top players. And you got to look at 3 to 5 to 1 over who's going to help you win the most. And it was strictly that, because it's not only the draft picks that you have as currency, but is the available cap room. And we can take that available cap room that we were going to use with Micah, and we can pay 3 to 5 players with that we wouldn't have been able to pay. And so we chose to have numbers of players that we could pay handsomely, that would be those caliber of players.
Okay, great. You can have 5 somebodies. What are the chances that any of those 5 players turn into Micah Parsons?
Probably 0. And the 5 guys that he gets for $188 million, you're basically spreading out that and saying, all right, let's get 5 guys who are in the mid-range. Does 5 mid-range players, and then he's talking about the 2 draft picks, so I'll throw those 2 guys into the mix.
That will be in the 20s because they're the Green Bay Packers picks.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing, let me go back. He says, we got a new coaching staff, as if, like, Brian Schottenheimer was the most sought-after coach. Now, he might be Nick Sirianni and surprise everybody, and how come no one else hired this guy? Okay, fine. They are basically saying, we are putting our chips in the new coaching staff. We are very proud that we have the highest-paid quarterback who, Dak Prescott's been good. I wouldn't say he's an elite player.
Absolutely not.
We paid him. You got Dak Prescott now, who is 32 years old, so he's not an old guy, but how many more years of Dak Prescott are you going to get at what you paid him to be? Then he talked about CD, but then he took the shot at the end, which I think is the big part of the comment here. He says, we need to stop the run and get the ball back to the guys we paid. He's essentially saying, we've had Micah Parsons. We can't get off the field with him. So we had to go get someone who can help us stop the run so we can give the ball back to the guys that we value more than we value Micah Parsons.
Coming up at the end of this hour, we're going to completely debunk further what Jerry Jones had to say, because I'm going to read to you. It'll be a very exciting segment. It actually will. But I'm going to read you the Dallas depth chart on the defensive side of the ball without Micah Parsons. Yuck. Because we do have to start to talk about how this will affect their chances to win in Philadelphia in Week 1. It affects it greatly. We already thought about Micah not playing as a big boon, but how do you think that organization feels? How do you think that the players feel walking into that building today with no Micah Parsons, knowing that you just traded away one of your best players for peanuts? It's incredible. And we'll play one more thing on the other side from Jerry Jones that just puts the cherry on top of the Sunday that was that wonderful press conference from Jerry. But, man, how great does it feel to see Jerry Jones in your division running one of the football teams you compete with? 610-632-0975 is how you chime in. So we'll play one more clip from Jerry coming up next. And we're going to talk a little bit more about last night with the Phillies, too, coming up. Mike, you've been trying to get me to the point where it's just like, okay, don't you feel better? There's a reason why I'm not ready to go there. There are actually multiple reasons for last night's game. And I think the starting pitcher for the Phillies is a big point that proves what I'm trying to say. I'll explain that coming up next. And we'll continue with this fun, high-energy show here with a lot of great stuff to get into. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The summer's here, and you know what that means. Engagement season. But remember, don't force it.
Don't tell
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And Andrew Salciunas will be back on Tuesday. They're on their little pre-football season vacation.
Are they down the shore?
Yeah, they're not together down the shore. I believe they're separate, but they may have run into each other. I'll have to ask them if they got a drink.
No,
or got dinner or
Salciunas is more, is he in Brigantine?
He's a Margate guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so. Wait, maybe. No. Maybe it is Brigantine.
I thought he was Brigantine.
Yeah, I think it's Brigantine. And then Kincade's in Avalon.
I saw him post a picture from North Wildwood.
I know Kincade's in Avalon. I believe Andrew is Brigantine.
I think they're somewhere
Salciunas
down the shore.
I don't know.
I think Salciunas is Brigantine because he had asked me if he said that he was a Brigantine. He was asking me if I could help him do something when I was because I live down there, so I was going to try to help him out one day doing something down there.
Yeah, if you see them, say hi. Both great guys, both very friendly to run into if you're a listener.
You don't
or
hear
viewer.
very many people give the Brigantines. Everybody is always Wildwood, North Wildwood.
Yeah. Salciunas is a South Jersey lifer. Man,
I was going to say he must live in the Jersey side.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's over there. So, but they're enjoying their time. We're enjoying our time filling in for them. I'm Connor Thomas alongside Mike Gill, and we're also enjoying what Jerry Jones had to say after trading Micah Parsons yesterday. Now we played you some clips about the thought process, which I find very flawed, as to why you trade away a 26-year-old, very probably future Hall of Fame player, because you did not want to pay him. But this is just the whole thing, right? All of it in this one short clip that we're going to play here, where Jerry, not only can he not sign the player, not only can he not get proper return for the player, he can't get the guy's damn name right. Here's Jerry.
Did I talk to Michael? Micah.
His son, Stephen Jones, has to correct him on the name of the player, calling him Michael, which he has done before as this saga unfolded.
He did it the whole 11 minutes.
It's just, I don't know how you do it. I don't feel bad for Cowboys fans because, frankly, I don't like any of you. But you got, in any other circumstance, nice. I don't. I would feel terrible for fans of that franchise that the person running their operations can't even say the proper name of their best player. That's just the whole thing encapsulated right there. The guy is not fit to run that organization, and he's going to stay there because he won't give up power, and it's a beautiful thing for Philadelphia Eagles fans.
The epitome of this whole situation is funny, is that Jerry is on the Michael Irvin podcast. Irvin essentially says there is no chance they are trading Parsons. Not too much longer does Parsons get traded, to which Irvin has to come back and say how horrible of a trade it is, which makes me now go back to, if Michael Irvin thinks it's a horrible trade, is it actually a good trade? I'm conflicted here because I think Irvin's an idiot.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, it doesn't take a genius to see that trading Micah Parsons away is not the way that you want to run your franchise. I think just base level, don't overthink it. This is an awful trade for the Dallas Cowboys and sets their franchise back. What do we have on the text line, Shawnee?
All right. On the text line, we have Going back to that same question that we did earlier, smile more, which made you smile more, Schwarber or Parsons trade? Schwarber made me grin ear to ear. Jerry Jones just made me laugh out loud for about 5 minutes, but you quickly have to realize that the Packers are going to be an absolute problem, and the Eagles have company in the top tier of the NFC. That's from Colin in Huntington Valley.
Colin, it's a great point. We are going to talk about the implications of the trade for the Eagles when it comes to the Packers side of this, because Micah Parsons is not just gone off the face of the planet. He's just no longer a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And the Packers is not the ideal landing spot if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Now, we can still laugh at the Cowboys before we acknowledge that this could be something to keep an eye on when you play the Packers in Week 10 for a potential postseason matchup, which we saw last year between those two teams. So we will get deeper into that, but I'm not done laughing at Jerry yet, so we're going to continue to do that throughout the show. We're going to keep going on the Kyle Schwarber topic, too, and discussing his historic night. 4 home runs last night against the Atlanta Braves. Our opening question, which made you smile more? Schwarber's 4-home run night or Jerry Jones trading away Micah Parsons? You can get in at 610-632-0975. Now, Mike, for you, you saw last night and you said, see, this is the Phillies team that I still believe can be there. Maybe not 19 runs, obviously, but strong offensive performance. I think it's a really tough game, singular game, to evaluate. We learned something that we already knew. Kyle Schwarber can hit the hell out of baseballs. But what did you learn about Aaron Nola?
Well, there's a lot there. 2 things. One, I didn't learn anything about Aaron Nola. I can't take anything from that start other than he was bad again in the first inning, gave up 3 runs, and the night looked like it was going to be a disaster right from the jump, and you're thinking, I cannot trust this game in a playoff situation. If you're down 3-0 in the playoffs, now listen, you're playing the Braves with Cal Quantrill pitching. You're not facing the Braves with Cal Quantrill pitching in a playoff game. So if you're down 3-0 from the jump, you know, all of the home runs in the night took away or covered up the fact that Nola gave me no confidence yet again. And I think that story gets swept under the rug because of Schwarber and everything else.
Right. Like, Nola's the perfect example of why you can't take too much out of that game because, and it was great. I'm not telling you not to.
He gave up another home run, too, by the way, to make it. They scored their 4th run. So if he's out there and gives up 4 runs in a playoff game in the first 4 innings of the game, no bueno.
Yes. And so he has the rough start. You can argue, oh, okay, well, he settled in, right? Ended up getting through 6. Only gave up 4 hits in his start. That's a pretty darn good thing to say. But is it because he had a huge lead? Did the Braves' offense sag? Naturally, they would, being down as much as they were in the later innings of Aaron Nola's start. Is that a lineup that is playing at a level that would compare them to a postseason team? You could argue that they are not, and their record would indicate that. So that's the thing, right? It is still the Braves. They're not a postseason opponent. It was Cal Quantrill. Like, I'm not trying to take this too far where it's just, Phils are back, wipe everything, forget about the Mets series. They're fine. They're winning the World Series. Like, I'm not there today. Am I excited with the performance I saw? Yes. But am I making this bigger than one fun night at the bank? No.
Yeah, I like that attitude. You should not allow that game to change you to the point where you're, like, buying back in 100%. Let's be honest here. Let's be level-headed. Like I said, I'm level-headed to where I don't think the sweep against the Mets is sweeping me down to where I'm down and out, like the guy who texted in yesterday and said he's done, he's not watching, yada, yada. I can't
You missed a hell of a game last night, buddy.
He missed that game. Now, I wonder if that guy's listening today and is like, you know what? Man, I missed that game last night.
That would be tough.
But the game last night should also not make you irrational on the positive side. You can't take anything from that game and say, now they're winning the World Series because of that. It's the Mariners. You scored double-digit runs, 40-some hits in that series in 2 games.
Yes.
You can't take anything from that positively, and you shouldn't take from the Mets negatively. That's where I need to change your attitude there a little bit.
I'll disagree on that one forever. We'll be back in these seats on Monday. I'll disagree. Then if we come back in a year, I'll still be ticked off at that series.
And by the way, if we're here on Monday and they have swept the Braves, I still don't think you should say things have changed.
We'll see what we see. Because the Phillies did also. It wasn't just Schwarber. They had their 3rd in the past week and a half performance of 20 hits or more. I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this baseball team. You guys help me out. 610-632-0975.
Here's one thing that's interesting, okay? All of the platoons, which everybody gets angry about, but is the platoons the fail-safe of people getting cold where you keep switching them.
Maybe, but that puts a lot on Rob Thompson to get those decisions right. And I don't know if I trust him to do that, considering strategy is not his strong point, or at least has not been his time as Philadelphia Phillies manager. So where are you at with the Phils? You can join in on that on the text line, 610-632-0975. Phone line is open as well. We have a fun little Friday topic for you coming up next, based on Kyle Schwarber's performance last night. The greatest single game performance you've ever seen. What is it? I'd love to get some of your responses, and we'll dive deeper into that. I'll get Mike's answer. I'll discuss what I think it'll be, and we will get into that as Kincade Salciunas continues. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber makes history. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. He hit not one, not two, not three, but 4 home runs yesterday, and, well, take a listen to number 4.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Kyle Schwarber becomes only the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a single game, and only the 4th Philly to do so. The last Philly to do it was Mike Schmidt in 1976. Schwarber now has the 2nd most home runs in a single season by a Philly. He currently sits at 49, just 10 behind Ryan Howard's 59 in 2006. Dallas Cowboys have traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark back to Dallas. The Eagles and Cowboys meet a little bit less than a week from today, 6 days away on opening night at Lincoln Financial Field. Eagles also have reportedly adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to their practice squad, a former 3rd-round pick of the 49ers. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
through the 7 o'clock hour here on Kincade Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board today. We're filling in for John and Andrew, who will be back on Tuesday. Kind of a ship of Theseus type of situation. If Kincade and Salciunas are not here, is it still Kincade and Salciunas? The answer to that quandary, at least in our case, is yes. So we got you covered today, and we will be back on Monday on the Labor Day holiday. If you're heading back from the shore or anything like that, love to hear from you. Love to have you tuned in. YouTube's rolling today, too, and I want everybody in on this because I think everybody will have a snap answer or couple of answers to this question. So Kyle Schwarber had a monster night last night, a historic night. 4-home run game, only the 21st time it has happened in Major League Baseball history. That is more rare than a perfect game, Mike. It is an incredible performance. You ever see a perfect game?
Not in person.
No.
I mean, I watched Roy Halladay.
Yeah, down in Miami.
Yep.
Which was that was a performance for the ages as well.
That was the same night as like the Flyers game 1 against the Blackhawks. Everybody always puts those two together.
Yeah, it's crazy how with how many days are in the year, how many big sports stories happen on the same day. Like even this, the Micah Parsons trade, the Kyle Schwarber 4-home run night. These are the days that you dream about when you come in and do this job. And
got me thinking a lot on this question, though. I love this type of question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question that we're going to ask, and while you ponder it, we're also going to play for you our little montage of the Kyle Schwarber 4-home run night. Just to remind you, we're gonna, we'll just do this once an hour. The audience is constantly changing. If you didn't hear it earlier, we're going to play that for you in a second. But while you listen to this, I want you to ponder, what is the single game greatest performance that you have ever seen? Now, this we're going to have to put restrictions on because there are a lot of opportunities out there. It's one you've either watched in person or watched on television, right? You sat down and watched the whole thing. I don't need to hear from somebody who's like, I tuned in for the final out of this perfect game or something. No, where you got the full experience of what we had last night at Citizens Bank Park. And if you need that full experience, if you missed it somehow, here's what it sounded like on NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Ofer's last 20, Ofer's last 22 is his longest stretch in his career. His last hit was his 45th home run of the year against Seattle. And that one is smoked deep to right field toward the second deck. Solo home run for Kyle Schwarber, his 46th of the year. It's his 5th home run in his last 10 games against the Braves. Phillies with 9 hits already. We're just in the 4th inning. That one is drilled deep to right field toward the pole. Gone! Second home run of the night. This one a 2-run shot. 47 on the year. 10-3 Phils. I think the slump might be over. It's the opposite way. Profar's going back. It's carrying pretty well. It is gone! It's a 3-home run night. It's his 4th one of his career. He decided to go oppo. 15-3 Phils.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
A beautiful night at the bank. JM on our YouTube chat chimes in and asks, is it only baseball for the single game performance? No, I'm talking any sport. Let's try to keep it to the 4 major. But yeah, the greatest single game performance that you've ever seen, because Kyle Schwarber has to be up there on that list for some people. Mike, I'll let you lead off first. What do you think is the greatest single game performance you've ever seen?
Well, I took this as a game that I was at first.
Okay.
And then I'm going to try to maybe branch off to games I've watched. But I was at the Halladay no-hitter in the division series.
Oh, that's a great pick.
8 strikeouts. He had a walk. 1 error in the game. The thing about it that was so amazing is that he finished the game with only 104 pitches. Mm. Like in the world we live in today with the pitch count and they're going to send him back out there, those questions didn't have to be asked because he was such a low pitch count. But I was at that game and watching him just carve up the Reds that day was epic. An honorable mention, this one's off the beaten path, and it probably isn't number one, but it just popped into my head. I was at the game that Kobe played his final game in Philly in 2015.
Yeah.
And if anybody was at that game and remembers, he was unconscious in the first quarter of that game. You thought it was a night he was going to score like 60 because he just wouldn't miss. That was the energy in that building for an opposing player was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's Kobe, and it's his final game in Philly, so you get it. But those are a couple of great picks by you. And the beautiful thing about this is a lot of people have seen a lot of sports. So we'd love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. The greatest single game performance you've ever seen, whether you watched it on television or saw it in person. Now, the funny thing about this conversation is we have a couple of candidates in a couple different sports just in this city, just in the past couple years. I could point to Saquon Barkley and multiple games this past year, but I really think about his performances against the Rams in the regular season and in the snow game in the divisional round, where I looked at it and I've never seen a guy that could just take it to the house at will like that at the running back position. It was unbelievable. And then there's something in the NBA, and people are going to get annoyed by this because I know how you feel about the Sixers right now. 21 players have had 4 home run games in Major League Baseball. Only 10 players have ever scored 70 or more points in an NBA game.
That game was epic.
Joel Embiid's 70-point game against the San Antonio Spurs has to be up there for some people. I know how we feel about JoJo and the Sixers right now, but man, it's only happened 15 times, and the only reason it's 15 is because Wilt did it 5 times. But 10 different players have ever hit that mark. It is one of the rarest feats that you'll ever see. He's got to be up there. There are so many options, and that's just the past couple years in just this city. The great single-game performances you've ever seen. I'd love to hear what the people have. Sean, do you have one real quick before we go to break?
I do. I would say for me, watching on TV-wise would be between two. One, the Joel Embiid 70-point game. I mean, you mentioned it right there. Just one of just only a handful of people right there, and 5 of them from Wilt Chamberlain. Another one on TV that I have to go for watch start to finish would be Michael Lorenzen's no-hitter as well. Just when you see a no-hitter.
Michael Lorenzen dropped today.
Oh, yeah.
When you see a no-hitter, you kind of have to put it up there, and the only reason why I had to put him in there is you didn't expect Michael Lorenzen to throw a no-hitter, especially as one of his first few starts as a Philly, and then obviously after that we know what happened. But
a really fun night, though.
It was
a fun
Weston
night.
Wilson with his first career home run and his first at bat. I believe Bryce Harper hit home run number.
By Connor.
No, Castellanos hit home run number like 250 in his major league career, or 200. It was a wild night that ultimately got overshadowed by Michael Lorenzen throwing a gem. Here's the thing. What Kyle Schwarber did last night was more rare than a perfect game, not just a no-hitter. You do not see what Kyle Schwarber just did. So I need to hear from the top of the top of the top of single-game performances, and we can't remember all of them just off the top of our heads.
Well, you mentioned the snow game. The LaShawn McCoy, that was a 215-yard game that day, too.
Incredible. We can talk about Kevin Curtis in those ugly gold and blue uniforms against the Detroit Lions so many years ago.
I'll tell you what, we don't think about it because it was a loss, but what T.O. did in that Super Bowl on one leg was pretty epic. I mean, when you think about performances in terms of heroic, now they lost, and that's a bad memory for us, but the performance he put on in that game was pretty incredible.
So I think it's a fun Friday topic, especially as we're the back part of summer heading into a holiday weekend, for us to just go down memory lane a little bit on some of those great performances that we've seen and give love to Kyle Schwarber along the way for what he did last night. So coming up next, we will get some reaction to that and our other topics. We're also going to look at the true football implications of the Micah Parsons trade. Not just, Jerry, look at that dummy. No, we're going to actually talk about what it means for the Eagles, not just from the Cowboys' perspective, but from the Green Bay Packers' perspective. Because I got to tell you, I'm not psyched that he's in Green Bay now. We will talk about that next here on Kincade Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas, along with Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board.
By you, by the way. Weston Wilson homered first time, and Castellanos homered twice to get to 200. Yep. That's an epic memory.
I remember that game, man. And when you watch all of them, some stuff sticks. We will talk more about everything coming up next here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Performance you've ever seen in honor of Kyle Schwarber's 4-home run night last night. Man, what a night by the big fella. Yes, there are some good ones that we did not mention. We're not just going to sit here and list all of them off. We would love to. That would be a great podcast to just like listing fun sports stuff, grab a couple beers and do that. But there are some that obviously we did not mention that are big time. Now, Sean, you also told me that we have one that keeps coming in that people can't believe we missed and didn't mention. Let me take a guess.
Go ahead.
Does it have to do with one of the guys that scored 70 points in an NBA game?
No.
Oh, really? I was figuring it was the Wilt 100-point game.
No,
now,
actually,
I imagine a lot of people
I haven't
didn't
seen
see
any.
That, so.
You think we have an audience of people who saw that game?
Maybe.
That would not be.
I have
listen,
not.
God bless those people, but
we welcome all ages.
They would have had a been there in Hershey as well because that game was not televised.
Everybody says they were, though. That's where you get it.
I was saying,
the
somebody would have to
capacity of
be
that
there.
building was 800,000 people that night. But what do we have?
All right. Well, one I think is going to be cherished for memories for a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans, taken back to February 2018. Nick Foles, Super Bowl 52.
Yeah.
There's a handful of them. One I'll just read. Dude couldn't miss. Corey Clement made me think Christ himself was at quarterback.
Yeah, that's such a great pick. I can't believe. You know what it is? It's because we got two now.
I have one other one that there's been a handful of other. Top two. The second one was 57. This person checking in is Peter from Reading. Says 57-year-old, and I don't have to think long. Hurts MVP performance in Super Bowl last year. Greatest viewing event of my sports life. Period.
Yeah, they're not that
Event-wise.
big. And I hate to nitpick people's because there's no wrong answers to this. If it's the greatest single game performance you've seen to you, we'd love to hear from you. So chime in with them.
He's taking it as a game. Are you saying as an individual performance?
Well, he's saying Hurts and that individual performance in the Super Bowl.
I would almost say Hurts' performance in the Super Bowl they lost was even better.
Yes, that's the thing. It may not even be his best Super Bowl performance.
Right.
So there are a lot of different options, and just it's a fun thing to think about the level that Kyle Schwarber put himself on last.
Well, I would think in baseball, it is like last night. The guy hits 4 home runs in a game. It's only happened 21 times. So it's either something like that, a no-hitter. Football, you get a guy who rushes for over 200 yards or receives, like you mentioned, Kevin Curtis went over 200 yards, maybe a quarterback throwing for over 400 yards.
Yeah, you could go, that's not even the Nick Foles moment. How about the Nick Foles 7-touchdown game against the Raiders?
That was
we have
unbelievable.
that one as well on the text line.
Yeah,
dude, that was unbelievable.
So there's so many great ones out there. Keep those coming. YouTube, text line, phone line, 610-632-0975.
Yeah, like I said the Kobe one, he didn't have a great game, but that first quarter was like something you never saw before, and he won the crowd over. Now I know Kobe's relationship with the Philly crowd was a little murky, but they were cheering for Kobe at the time, and being in there with the energy of that place was unbelievable. He was on a heater, man.
This is why you buy the tickets. This is why you tune in. To see moments like what you got last night at Citizens Bank Park, worth the price of admission and then some.
And that was a process. That was 2015.
Yeah.
So you're still knee-deep processed bad teams.
Probably not a bad ticket to get, honestly. Were
Sixers
they
won that game.
Letting people in the building for $10?
By the end, they were shouting "Beat LA," and you had like Tony Roten on the floor.
I love that. The glory days. Not exactly. Okay, well, we're going to get into the football implications of this Micah Parsons trade from the Green Bay perspective in this segment. And I know we have some texts on the Green Bay view of this, what him going to the Packers means. So, Shawnee, hit us with a text on that.
Yeah, one person checking in says, not sure why you guys are so excited. The Cowboys are irrelevant. Everyone knows that. But one of the top teams in the NFL just got better, in all caps.
And that is a very fair point. When the buzz of the Jerry's a moron stuff starts to wear off, we may look at this and be like, ooh, this may not be great for the Eagles. It's great for Eagles fans who want to make fun of the Cowboys. It's great for the laughing stock of the NFL conversation. But the Green Bay Packers are a team that played you in the wild card round last year. And they didn't really give you a great game, but all of their receivers were also dead by the second half of that football game. They're a team that people look at that could make some noise in the NFC, and they just got a big boost to that defense. How worried are you, Mike, about the Packers in the wake of the Micah Parsons trade?
You know, it's funny because when this trade happened yesterday, the first thing that came to my mind was the one thing the Packers didn't have is a guy that you have to game play and for on their defense. You know, their defense is kind of like a bunch of good players, no great player. The game planning player, the guy that when you go up to the video and say, okay, here's number, you got to find them. They haven't had that player. Now, you played them twice last year, and both times they struggled against the run. Parsons is not going to help out in that aspect.
Yes.
So, is he the right player to counter what the Eagles do to beat you?
Probably not, but more good players on a good team is not a good thing when you have to play them. Like, I'm now looking big time at that primetime matchup at Lambeau in Week 10. That game just got tougher. A postseason game against the Packers, which could very well be coming. Like, they're a playoff team.
Well, here's one thing I say, like, all the time. When you play against a team and their best player is their edge pass rusher, I feel good about that game. Because the Eagles' offensive line. See, many times edge rushers dominate because offensive line play in this league is so bad that you're able to absolutely game wreck because your guy steamrolls over an average to mediocre to good tackle. The Eagles don't have that problem. So when they play a caliber of player like that, normally they are able to neutralize them.
Yes.
And that's a big weapon.
Now, I don't want to live on the Eagles have shut down Micah Hill because that's some ways factual. He has not really crushed the Eagles in his career with the Cowboys. Now, a better team getting better, though, is something that we have to keep an eye on. We kind of shifted the problem, and there is part of me that thinks, well, Micah or no Micah, that Dallas Cowboys team wasn't winning crap. Micah or no Micah could be a big difference for that Green Bay Packers team that feels like they're on the edge of maybe that high-level competition in the NFC.
Well, what it could do is obviously help them beat other teams to get to a spot to play you. And then in a one-off game, I mean, you have a good game plan. He just goes bonkers. You certainly now put them on higher alert. There's no question about it. But what he could do is he matches up against a team in the playoffs that doesn't have a good offensive line, game wrecks them, they advance, same thing the next week. You know, if they're playing Washington, Washington, they made the trade to get Tunsil. They drafted a kid in the first round. But let's say that kid is overmatched against Micah Parsons playing in the NFC divisional round game. So he certainly puts that defense on another level. And I'll tell you what else he does for them. The Packers need to win in a window here because he's getting paid, Love is getting paid, and no one else is getting paid.
Exactly. And that's part of the conversation that we'll continue here on the other side. How much do the Packers now worry you if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan? Well, I think a lot points to the quarterback out there too. And I'll just tell you right now, I don't love Jordan Love.
They did get him a weapon. That's something they never did for Aaron Rodgers.
I still don't love Jordan Love. We will talk a little bit more about Micah Parsons in his new uniform on his new team coming up next. And also, did the Eagles just get 2 free wins yesterday? I don't know if I'd go that far. But when I read you this depth chart for the Dallas Cowboys defense, the new look, fresh Dallas Cowboys defense that Jerry Jones wanted that can stop the run, I think you're going to feel pretty darn good. We'll get into that next as Kincade Salciunas continues. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board, filling in for John and Andrew. Back after this here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber puts his name in the history books. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Kyle Schwarber hit not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 home runs, and, well, here's number 4.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Kyle Schwarber only becomes the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a game, and the last Philly to do it was Mike Schmidt in 1976. 4 total Phillies have now hit 4 in a single game. Kyle Schwarber, as well, is sitting at 49 home runs, just 10 behind Ryan Howard's 59, which is the most in a single season in franchise history. The Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark, heading back to Dallas, I should say. Eagles and Cowboys meet 6 days from today on opening night at Lincoln Financial Field. Eagles are reportedly adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to the practice squad, a former third-round pick of the 49ers. This update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with national LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and free UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Eagles.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill, filling in for John and Andrew, who will be back on Tuesday. Hopefully your Labor Day weekend is getting started early. Hopefully you don't have to work today and you got the day off. You're heading down the shore or doing something fun, taking us along with you or watching us on the YouTube. Not while you're driving, of course, but everything's busy here, and it's because we got two major points of news. Kyle Schwarber, a 4-home run game last night for the Phillies. Micah Parsons, no longer a member of the Dallas Cowboys, traded to the Green Bay Packers. A miserable trade for the Dallas Cowboys that makes the NFC East look a little bit easier for the Birds heading into their title defense season. Our opening question, with those two big stories, both positive ones for us here in Philadelphia, what made you smile more yesterday? The Micah Parsons trade news or the Kyle Schwarber 4-home run game? Both big-time points of happiness for Philadelphia fans.
I think that text message we got from, I think his name was Colin, put it out perfectly. He was grinning ear to ear for Schwarber, and he was laughing about the trade.
Yeah.
So the smile and the joy is Schwarber. The humility and the laughter is Jarrah.
That's absolutely a fair way to look at it. And
it was well done by that kid.
Absolutely it was.
Poor man.
Yeah. That person, Colin, who checked in. You can join in on text line 610-632-0975. You can also chime in with your favorite single game performance that you've ever seen in honor of that Kyle Schwarber 4-home run game. I want to go to the phone line real quick before we get into this Cowboys depth chart conversation that we're getting into. And we'll also talk about the quarterback in Green Bay and why I don't know if I trust that team. But let's open up the phone line with Sean in Levittown, who wants to talk about his favorite single game performance. Sean, you're live here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
First of all, thank you, Jerry, for yesterday. I have to say, I mean, it's hard to pick a single game for Saquon Barkley, but last year's 255-yard performance against the Rams was pretty. It's definitely something I'm going to remember.
Yeah, I mean, that was unbelievable. They could not stop him in that game.
No. And then I will say, too, in the playoff game, seeing him brush one off for in the snow and him banging his helmet, too, as he ran into the end zone, I think that kind of signified, we have a star running back now. The first one was McCoy, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sean, it's a great call,
really
man.
Rely on.
Yeah, appreciate you checking in. Hopefully you enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Great call. You could pick multiple Saquon games from last year, but that 255-yard performance, got to take the cake.
Yeah, and by the way, his highest performance before that was as a Giant. He had 189. The 255 game, I was in Thailand watching that game.
Really?
I set my alarm for 3 a.m. to get up and watch that game. And, it was a game where he wasn't doing all that much. And then all of a sudden, it just like, bang, he gets a long one. Bang, he gets another long one. And that game, it was like, so at this point, so the game here was at 6 p.m. So in Thailand, it was 3 a.m. So by this point, it's like 5-something in the morning. And then I'm like tense as can be because this is a close game. By the way, it was a close game. It came down to one play. Jalen Carter obviously getting the – but the epic performance didn't come until the end of that game.
Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes it is late heroics. Sometimes it's complete dominance from start to finish. That's why there are a lot of great opportunities to answer this question. If you want to see something special like that in person potentially, well, you got to go to the games. You got to have tickets. And that's why in the 8 o'clock hour, which is starting in about 7 seconds, listen carefully to the show because we're going to know the show for the 8 o'clock hour. We will ask the question right at the start of the 9 o'clock hour. So you got to be tuned in. But we have a pair of Phillies tickets to give away. Phillies Mets Wednesday, September 10th, Citizens Bank Park, big time series. We have a pair of tickets to give away for the Know the Show question. So stay tuned in. You'll have a chance to win those. And we'll get somebody to that game. Hopefully it'll go better than what happened up at Citi Field. But hey, maybe it was just Citi Field. Clearly the Phillies had no trouble at the bank last night. Now, a little more on the implications of the Micah Parsons trade. As you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. We're powering possibilities. The Jordan Love thing, I just, at the end of the day, the Eagles have all of these talented players. But the straw that stirs the drink really seems to be, year in and year out, the play of quarterback Jalen Hurts. When he is taking care of the football, when he is facilitating the offense, when he is doing his job as the leader of that offensive unit, the Eagles win. When he puts the ball in harm's way, when he is forced to try and do too much, the Eagles have trouble at points. But Jordan Love, to me, does not feel like the consistent performer to where if I have to see that guy in 3 postseason games, I feel confident the Packers are going to be in all 3 without that quarterback hurting their chances. That's why I still look at the Packers and say I will take the Eagles over them 10 times out of 10, though the Parsons news does make that defense even more formidable.
I'm interested to see now as he is, entering his 3rd year as the starter. They got him, Matthew Golden. They drafted him, the kid out of Texas, so they got him a weapon. Because he had these wide receivers that were all kind of like good, but no one's like the guy there. And I know like Hurts sometimes gets a lot of people will say, well, he has 2 great receivers. Well, that's part of what helps make you a great player. And Love maybe now has that guy that he can connect with to take him to that next level. I think he's a very interesting guy in terms of the talent. But there's been a lot of questions about, the ability to win that big game for him. But does he get there with this new weapon? That is something I'm kind of intrigued by for him because I never really thought he had a lot of great weapons out there.
Yeah, he had pieces, but they were young guys last year. Like Christian Watson's a nice player.
Always hurt.
Yes, and a lot of their guys have been hurt. Yeah, Jaden Reed is another guy that like you look at him and say, okay, I see the talent. Both of those guys not available.
None of those guys like worry you.
No, they don't. And
that doesn't mean Matthew Golden's going to come in and be,
Devontae Adams.
Exactly, like some number 1A, stud guy. But at least they did say, hey, we're going to get you someone that you can grow together with.
Yes, they did. And we'll see how that plays out for the Packers. We will see them up close and personal Week 10 when the Eagles head to Lambeau for a primetime matchup.
Off the bye.
Yes, and maybe that will give them plenty of time to prepare for their old pal Micah Parsons. Again, no longer a Cowboy, traded yesterday for 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. So do the Eagles get 2 auto wins? No, because they have to play the games against Dallas. But I'm going to read through from the current Dallas Cowboys defensive depth chart the names that will be starting on that defense for Dallas. And you try and convince me that the Birds are not scoring 30, 35, 40 points on this defense. Marshawn Nealand is starting at left defensive end. Kenny Clark, newest Cowboy, at left defensive tackle. Right defensive tackle, Osa Idigizua will be starting there.
Well, he said.
Dante Fowler at the right defensive end. Neither Nealand nor Fowler are the quality of Micah Parsons, not even close. Maris Leofau will be starting at linebacker. Jack Sanborn will be starting at linebacker. Kenneth Murray starting at linebacker. None of those guys are anybody that should scare you. The secondary, they do have a couple of guys whose names you'll recognize. Deron Bland, Malik Hooker, Trayvon Diggs, Donovan Wilson. It's not a bad unit. But, man, that defense is not stopping anybody this year down in Dallas. And with Micah, they still would have had a hard time winning football games consistently, which is why I see them as like a middle-of-the-road 7-8 win team at their peak. But without Micah, man, who on that defense are you worried about? To me, it's nobody.
Yeah, they don't really have that guy like we talked about Green Bay, where Green Bay had a good defense. And I'm not even saying Dallas, they were terrible against the run. And Jerry said it. We have to be able to stop the run. They haven't been able to do it. And I don't know if that cast their characters is getting it done.
No, it's just you look up and down the depth chart on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys, and that reads like a 4-win football team. Now, their offense, we know they have put more money on that side of the ball, but the Eagles' offense is going to roll into Week 1 ready to go, I think. And Kevin Patullo, we're going to be watching very closely what he does as the new offensive coordinator. I think that he may be the happiest guy in Philadelphia to hear the Micah Parsons trade news, because he now looks at this defense and says, okay, Week 1 should be a layup for my unit. It's a good get-your-feet-wet game. Even though it's a big stage and big expectations for the season, his job just got easier to where maybe there's less pressure that he feels now that Micah Parsons is not a member of the Cowboys. So I don't know if it's 2 automatic wins against the Cowboys this year. I know that Dak Prescott has played the Eagles well in his career, so if he's healthy, you got to watch that. But still, the Cowboys, man, they were out of contention already for the NFC East in my mind. They took a major step back yesterday.
Certainly, defensively, they are a tick down. The biggest Cowboy fan in the world, even if you love this trade and said Jerry did a great job, you can't say they're going to be better defensively. I mean, is Kenny Clark going to transform their run defense to the point where they are now an elite-level defense? Because that defense was bad last year.
Yeah.
And I know they had a lot of injuries, but you just read off the depth chart there. Which guy on that team are you circling every week and saying, we got to figure out a way to neutralize him?
None of them. I mean, none of them. Even if you look at the secondary and you're like, well, they have some guys that can take the ball away. Those guys, I would argue, are boom or bust players. And you have a pretty good run game last time I checked. That number 26 guy, he's still here, right? So if you're rolling in with Saquon Barkley, let's go. Try and stop him. Kenny Clark's not stopping him. I mean, nobody's stopping him.
And their offensive line's a big problem, too.
Yes.
I mean, they've had problems up front. They did address the running back position. Not great. I mean, but last year they were really average at best. At running back, they got Miles Sanders and a kid from Denver.
Yeah, Javonte Williams.
There you go. So I don't know how they're going to control clock, yada, yada, all this stuff. What they have is CeeDee Lamb, and they added Pickens. Like, that's their thing, is they did what they do. They marketed themselves. They went out and got Pickens and made everybody talk about them because they got a name that people recognize. When you have a recognizable name, that puts you up the list of, hey, we can talk about this guy. But everything else around them where you need to win, offensive line, defensive front, not good enough.
Well, Jerry, you got your headlines, and you're going to get more when the Eagles hang 35-plus on your defense in Week 1.
Likely.
So, enjoy that. All right, coming up next, we're going to enjoy this. Today's headlines with Sean Rodman. Some fun stories from around the world of sports. Come your way and listen carefully because 8 o'clock hour, remember, we got Phillies tickets up for grabs. Know the show for the entire 8 o'clock hour here on Kincade Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill. Back after this here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid. fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Here we've got today's headlines in just a second with Sean Rodman. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill, and we've been having ourselves a fun Friday show as we lead you into the Labor Day weekend, talking about the two big stories with Micah Parsons being traded and Kyle Schwarber just being unbelievable. It was great stuff, but I want to hear a little bit more from the people on the text line before we get to today's headlines on those two big stories. Which made you smile more? And we've been breaking down the finer details of both of the big storylines from yesterday. So what do we have on our text line there, Shawnee?
All right, let's start with a Giants fan. Joe in New Jersey saying, as a New York Giants fan, I'm so happy Jerry Jones traded Parsons. Makes us handling Saquon not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with the Saquon. Like, the Eagles have handled Micah Parsons pretty well. So it's hard to look at this and be like, oh, wow, major difference for the Eagles from the way that they've played the Cowboys. When they lose games, it's because their defense has been unable to slow down Dak Prescott. But they've really slowed down Micah well in his Cowboys career. We'll see if that continues now that he's with the Packers. And we talked earlier about how worried you would be with Micah now joining the Packers to see the Eagles match up with them in a potential postseason matchup because that team got better, but the Eagles are going to be just fine against that Dallas defense this year. I don't have any worries about that matchup, especially now that Mike is gone.
Not yet. No. I mean, obviously, if you're just looking at paper, roster, that team doesn't scare you all that much.
No, and they shouldn't. And the Dallas Cowboys are not a team that looks better on the field than they do on paper.
Their best shot would be a shootout. Like, hey, yes. you have a tough matchup. Like, what's Adoree Jackson going to be? Is he going to be the starter? Who's going to be that guy? And does he get matched up with CeeDee Lamb a couple times and they get the matchup they want there? Does George Pickens, catch a couple deep balls? And now you're into the shootout where Dak, there's nights where Dak has these big games. They do happen. But that's their shot. That's their shot to try to come after you.
Yes, Monday, it'll be Mike and I back together on the Labor Day holiday, so we will be in here working. We're going to break down the game, or at least start to break down the game a little bit more between the Eagles and Cowboys in Week 1. So we'll have plenty of time to do that before the Thursday night matchup that will not include number 11 for the Cowboys. All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Sean Rodman.
Today's headlines with the Connor Thomas.
All right. Well, this headlines is brought to you by Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember by the name Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit LundyLaw.com. That's LundyLaw.com.
All right. What do we have?
All right. First up, let's stay with the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. And I don't know if you want to say everyone's favorite or everyone's least favorite Dallas Cowboys fan. Skip Bayless. Well, he reacted to the trade, and and here he is.
Good riddance and good luck, Green Bay, because you just overpaid for the overhyped Micah Parsons.
I don't know. Let me ask you this, Mike. I don't know if I would have more or less faith in the Cowboys to be competitive if Skip Bayless was running the team than Jerry Jones. That's moronic. Overrated, overhyped Micah Parsons. Get out of here, you loser.
Right. Yeah. Carnival Barker, Jerry Jones, Skip Bayless.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it, right? The guy, you're a jilted lover. You wanted him on your team. Now he's gone, so you got to act like, oh, the guy stinks. But come on, man. You're not
throw all
anybody.
his Cowboys jerseys in the trash.
He does it every year. Skip Bayless.
They're some of the saddest videos.
They are. I love watching them, though. I'm very excited to hear also his former partner, Stephen A. Smith, and what he has to say about the Cowboys when he gets his first chance to fully react to that today. So we'll keep an eye out for what Stephen A., friend of the station, has to say about the latest in Cowboys fun to be poked. What else do we have there, Shawnee?
All right, next up, let's go to college football. Big weekend this weekend. We have Texas, Ohio State, and Arch Manning says, is there a target on their back? Is it a target on other teams' backs? Here's Arch Manning heading into the college football season.
Are you mentally prepared to have that huge X on your back all season long where everybody is going to be coming for you?
I mean, I think that's all of us at Texas, and I think we kind of try to shift the narrative. We're going for everyone else. Target's not on our back. We have the red dot on everyone else.
Listen, I like the mentality. That's kind of what you got to have, right? We're aiming for everybody else. You're not locked in here with me.
I like the question, though, is are you mentally tough? And if Arch Manning looked at him and said, actually, no, I'm pretty fragile.
Yeah, right.
That would be a great answer, right? Wouldn't that be, tremendous for him to stare at that guy and say, actually, no, I'm soft?
Yeah. I don't know how you're supposed to answer that question other than how he did, but that's kind of the Eagles' mentality this year as well, where you have to shape the narrative to fit what you are as the favorite or one of the favorites.
Let me ask you guys. College football game day, Lee Corso's final day, big noon Saturday, this whole Portnoy thing that they banned him, they didn't ban him. I think it's been all made up to try to get attention, but you got Corso's final day or big noon.
Yeah.
Where you going?
Probably Corso's final day.
Easy. Corso's final day.
Yeah, I mean, I love Lee Corso.
Okay.
And that's great. Why? You seem like you might be going elsewhere.
No, I'm just imagining, I'm almost 50, so Corso's been my whole life. I know the younger generation is maybe more into the Portnoy world.
Yeah, possible. I mean, there's a lot of college football does a really great job of marketing their sport. They do. And there are some things that they miss on at the NCAA level when it comes to the college football playoff and everything like that. The NIL stuff has been a mess in some circumstances. The way they discipline when maybe a certain Big Ten organization decides that they want to cheat their way to a national championship up there in Ann Arbor. But ultimately, the way that they present the product on Saturdays is incredibly well done. I can't wait for college football to be fully back.
Yeah, Game Day is an iconic show. Corso, iconic. He is college football, but I figure there is younger people in the audience who are in that Barstool world that are intrigued to see what he brings. Now, I'm a West Virginia guy. Having McAfee a part of that show is fantastic. I think he adds a lot of fun and energy, and the whole kicking thing is added another. Because that was a show that Corso and Herbstreit kind of built, and you're wondering what's the next iteration. That show's iconic.
Yes, it is. And we'll all be watching college football closely over the weekend. What else do we have here, Shawnee?
All right. Lastly, let's go back to what we've kind of been talking about all day long here on our replay about Schwarber and Parsons.
Which made you smile more yesterday? Kyle Schwarber's 4-home run historic night, or Jerry Jones tearing the Cowboys down from within?
Well, what made me smile more is something that I think everybody can agree with, is the Dallas Cowboys being incompetent in this trade. But more so is I think I had a different reaction than a lot of people for Kyle Schwarber in those, because Kyle Schwarber steps up for his third time to the plate, and I'm yelling at the TV is, why the hell are they pitching to him?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
I haven't seen that answer on the text line yet. I don't know if the YouTube, I haven't seen any answer in the YouTube chat yet, but I'm yelling at the TV, why are they pitching to him after just the second home run? And I know there was one instance that I think it was the fourth time up at that point. They could have intentionally walked him for the bases loaded. Bryce Harper's not even behind him in that spot.
Yeah.
It was Weston Wilson by then.
But they decide to pitch to Schwarber, and they open up the door for history. You know what? Credit, and great job, Shawnee, there with today's headlines. Credit to the Atlanta Braves for throwing the ball over the plate.
I texted my buddies when he came up in the eighth when the position player was pitching.
Yeah.
That they should have walked him.
Yeah, no. That guy, that position player, I forget who it was. It was the guy who the Phillies have seen like on 3 different teams.
He was throwing 50. He threw a pitch that registered at 51.
If he walks him, he doesn't make it out of that stadium. Right?
That was the answer. My buddy texted me back and said, if they intentionally walked him, I'm telling my pitcher to throw the ball not at the hitter, at the manager.
Yeah, like that would be the unwritten rules of baseball. Sometimes I scoff at, but that's one where you got to give the guy the chance.
That would be one Vidal Brujan.
Seriously
as well.
though, he comes up in the 8th inning against a position player who's literally lobbing him in there.
Yep.
Did you not say he's going to crush one against this dude?
Yeah.
And then he popped it up, and you could see he was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" He was almost more disappointed that he didn't hit that one than excited that he hit the other 4.
Yeah, he wanted 5. He had a great opportunity, but hey, we'll take 4.
He's going to catch and pass Howard, by the way.
You would hope. Still a ways to go.
I mean, last night getting 4 of them. I think he hit 12 home runs in July.
Yes.
So I thought if he could get 3 in the rest of August at the beginning of the week, he hit 4 last night. He's going to enter September on the pace that he doesn't even need to hit 12 now.
Yes. And that is big time for him chasing history as the Phillies franchise leader.
And he's chasing an MVP.
He is. I don't think he's going to get it.
He might not, but he's chasing it.
He is chasing it. He will be number 2.
And a new contract. Chasing that too.
That's another conversation altogether where every day it seems more and more like the Phillies should have found a way to get something done. But that's a off-season problem. Today we celebrate. Coming up next, should we be celebrating the Phillies' resilience more? Because it seems like maybe we don't give them enough credit for that. And it's hard to sometimes. We'll have an interesting discussion about this team's bounce-back ability. Coming up next here on Kincade Salciunas, I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board. Back after this here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber has a historic night. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Kyle Schwarber had 4 home runs. That's right, 4 home runs yesterday against the Atlanta Braves. And, well, here's number 4 making history.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
And Kyle Schwarber became the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a single game, and the 4th Philly to do so as well. The last Philly was Mike Schmidt in 1976. Kyle Schwarber has the 2nd most home runs, as we just talked about, in a single season by a Philly at 49. He just sits just 10 away from Ryan Howard's 59 in 2006. The Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers for 2 firsts and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. Eagles and Cowboys, I should say, open up at Lincoln Financial Field just 6 days away. Eagles are also reportedly adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to the practice squad, a former 3rd-round pick. This update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with national LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and free UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Remember, make sure you're listening carefully in the 8 o'clock hour because we're going to have a Know the Show question for you about this hour of Kincade Salciunas today. Your chance to win Phillies tickets to the Phillies game against the Mets at the Bank September 10th. So don't miss any of this. And part of the reason that we're excited to do that today is because of what Kyle Schwarber did last night. Now, resilience is a quality that is a necessity for potential champions. Nobody has a perfect season, right? Unless you're going way back to the 70s and the Dolphins. No one has gone through undefeated and found their way to a major North American pro sports championship. So there are points where you have to bounce back. Now, Kyle Schwarber talked after the series against the New York Mets and brought up how that doesn't faze them and they're prepared to bounce back and they've done it before. Here's what he had to say after the Mets series concluded.
First off, I think that there's disappointment, right? Who likes to lose? No one likes to lose. But there's nothing that can really faze us. You know, I think that, we've been swept before this year. We bounced back. So we got to do the same thing. And I'm not worried about it. I know everyone's going to have the right mindsets going into the next series, and we go from there.
Well, my response to that yesterday was, yeah, it's all good and well to say that, but, you haven't shown it over the last 3 games in New York. You didn't show that resilience to bounce back, to fight through adversity, to play like the team that we believe that you should be. Well, basically that boils down to don't talk about it, be about it. And last night, Kyle Schwarber was about it. So if you missed it, here's what Schwarber accomplished at Citizens Bank Park last night, courtesy of the NBC Sports Philadelphia broadcast.
Ofer's last 20, Ofer's last 22 is his longest stretch in his career. His last hit was his 45th home run of the year against Seattle. And that one is smoked deep to right field toward the second deck. So the home run for Kyle Schwarber, his 46th of the year. It's his 5th home run in his last 10 games against the Braves. Phillies with 9 hits already. We're just in the 4th inning. That one is drilled deep to right field toward the pole. Gone! Second home run of the night. This one a 2-run shot. 47 on the year. 10-3 Phils. I think the slump might be over. That was the opposite way. Profar's going back. It's carrying pretty well. It is gone! It's a 3-home run night. It's his 4th one of his career. He decided to go oppo. 15-3 Phils.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Just an incredible night at the bank right there, and great calls by Tom McCarthy and a little bit of interjection by John Kruk, as we always get the oh my gods when the ball's flying out of the yard on those big home runs. I love it.
And Schwarber's such an unassuming guy too. It's almost like he's so humbled by the fact, and that he has to talk about it. He actually did talk about it, and then gave credit to Nola, ahead of everything in that situation. But did you catch the part after the game where apparently he had said, how many people have hit 5 home runs in a game? And they were like, none. He's like, I wish I didn't ask that question.
Yeah.
So, he had it in his mind. You know what the funny part is, too? There was 2 home runs that he hit, plus the Harper one, where Acuna didn't even move.
Yeah, they were basically all bombs that the Phillies hit last night, including Max Kepler's, Bryce Harper's.
Real Muto's was a titanic blast.
It was an incredible night at the plate for the Phillies and for Kyle Schwarber, which leads to this next question, because what Kyle Schwarber said in that first clip that we played for you after the Mets series, he talked about how the Phils have been swept before. They bounced back. They're a resilient team. And my response to that in the moment was, okay, show us, because we've seen it before, but this Mets series was a different beast. A lot of people were very down on this team. I think a lot of people still will be. But do we give this team enough credit for their ability to fight through adversity? At least in the regular season, at least where we're at now. Like, should we believe in this team's ability to go out there and be a great regular season baseball team more? I'm not talking about October, because anybody can point to Diamondbacks, Astros, Mets, and say, no, they crumble in the big moments. And we'll have that conversation at some point in the future as we get closer to Red October. But it seems that this year, when the Phillies have had those stretches where they have not been playing great baseball, where they get swept, where they are going through a slump, they felt shorter this year than in past years where there have been month-long stretches of not playing good baseball.
Yeah, that Pirate series is the one that, he said we've been swept before. I go back to the Pirate series. They were terrible. They lost the 2 games at Toronto. Then they got swept in Pittsburgh. Then after that, they ripped off like 8 out of 9. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good question is like, did this team, but that's the whole point about this, is they don't get too high, they don't get too low, even when we want them to get angry, even when we want them to show the fire and the emotion. People call out and say, I want the manager to, show some emotion. For what? What is that changing? We think because we think it. I think if the manager flips the table, tomorrow they might hit 3 home runs. It's not happening. That's not changing the outcome of the game. We just saw that. People wanted Thompson to blow a gasket because they got swept and say something that was going to show that loss bothered them as much as it bothered you. But that didn't change anything or wouldn't change anything. And that's what I think we have to learn and come to terms with, is just because you want emotion doesn't mean showing the emotion that you want to see is the right outcome.
Yeah, you're fighting a losing battle.
I know.
I'll
sit on the island by myself, and you ever sit on an island by yourself, it's pretty peaceful.
Yeah, listen, I'm there with you. I've been that guy all year for the Philadelphia Phillies, but I know through plenty of experience, and you do as well, that this fan base is not going to accept a manager or a player that they see as just kind of not fired up when they need them to be fired up. And right or wrong.
And it's not only the manager. Sometimes they want, like you said, like Schwarber, like what he said, he seemed a little bit like the loss didn't bother him all that much.
Yeah, and I know that it does. And I don't need to hear from them to us that it does. But I know that this fan base at the same time is going to want to see that fire and continue to. But last night you saw it on the field, and that is the most important thing. So we'll continue that conversation coming up. We'll check in on our text line. Also, what in the world is in the water down in Dallas? Not just with the Cowboys. Talk about all-time bad general manager work. Yeah, it's tough down there in the Lone Star State. It's wild.
I wonder how
these two things have happened.
To have the GM and the owner be the same guy if you're on that team.
Awful. I'm sure it's awful when it's Jerry Jones, but it's not just the Dallas Cowboys. There was another trade this year that probably eclipses what the Cowboys just did with Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. We'll look back at that and just have a fun little conversation as we continue Kincade Salciunas here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We are just 6 days away from opening night. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Birds Insider update, I should say. Eagles have made some moves this week, adding Ambry Thomas to the practice squad. He's a former third-round pick from Michigan, last with the 49ers. Team claimed center/guard Willie Lampkin earlier in the week from the Rams, and he's now on the 53-man roster. Britton Covey has returned to the practice squad. Same with Marcus Epps, also returns to Philadelphia on the practice squad. Micah Parsons is heading to Green Bay as he's traded for 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. We will expect to see Kenny Clark in some action on Thursday next week. And good news for Thursday coming up, Landon Dickerson, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith were all seen practicing this week in at least a limited fashion. And Drew Makuba is working his way back as he was working on the side earlier this week at practice as well, as he's dealing with a hamstring injury. We'll keep you updated once we hear more on that as well. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Join the Fanatic for the inaugural live broadcast of Unfiltered with Ricky Bowe, Bill Col-
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bowe, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Jones. We're going to talk a little bit about just a wild year that it's been down there.
I have coffee grounds in my water.
Yeah, right. Well, that helps you wake up when you're filling in on the morning show. That's the voice of Mike Gill. I'm Connor Thomas. We're sitting in for John and Andrew, who will be back on Tuesday. Sean Rodman on the board for us today. And let's give some love to the folks in the back. Haley running the YouTube, so hello to the YouTube chat. We said hi to you earlier this morning. And Nate working back there as well. So we're going to look at just the wild year that it's been and the fact that it's happened in the same city twice this calendar year. Just a wild trade of a franchise cornerstone. But I want to get back to the text line here. We've had a lot of stuff that we've been getting into on the text line, from the Micah Parsons and Kyle Schwarber reaction to the big stories of yesterday to the question about the best single-game performances you've ever seen. So, Sean, take your pick. What do we have on the text line? Because I know it's been busy.
Let's go to some of the single best performances, and I'm going to read this one, but I think some people are going to get a little upset by this name that I'm about to mention. One person is Eric from Alden. He's checking in saying the greatest single-game performance I witnessed was when James Harden had a 50-point triple-double against the Sixers in Philly.
Oof. I mean, listen, it's personal. So if that's the best you've ever seen, that's a fair pick. It's a hell of a performance. I don't love that it's against our team. And I also know how this city feels about James Harden these days. But, man, when the beard was going, that dude was must-watch television.
He had the 45-point game in Game 1 against the Celtics for the Sixers. I mean, that was an epic night for him in Philly.
Yeah.
One of his best games that he played while he was here.
Yeah, it's just like guys go and get 40 occasionally. You'll see multiple 40-point games in an NBA season.
And he scored 42 in that Game 4.
Yeah, what Kyle Schwarber did last night has only been done by 20 other men who have ever played the sport of baseball at the major league level.
It's hard to top something that is that rare. Like anything that you would have seen, like even Halladay throwing a no-hitter in the playoffs, like that's a rare feat. They throw one in a playoff game. Now, no-hitters happen throughout the regular season all the time.
Yeah.
But a no-hitter in the playoffs, that's why that, to me, was the first thing that pops into my mind. And I happened to be at that game.
Yeah, it's way better than the other postseason no-hitter that's happened recently in Phillies history.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that one out there. What else do we have on the text line, Sean?
All right. Let's go to another one that is an Eagles fan checking in, saying along the lines with the Micah Parsons one. That's bad for the Eagles. Parsons going from Dallas to Green Bay is going from pretender to contender.
And I get that. We had that conversation earlier, but we'll reset our thoughts right here. I don't believe in the quarterback in Green Bay. I don't think Jordan Love is a championship-winning quarterback. I don't think that they are going to win a Super Bowl if he is their guy under center. But that's a quality team, better than the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't know if they were a pretender.
What?
I don't know if they were a pretender.
Oh, no, they're not a pretender.
That's what the text said.
No, he's going from the Cowboys, who are a pretender, to the Packers, who are
I thought
contenders.
he said he was taking the Packers from pretender to contender.
No, just moving.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it makes the Packers a better team. And if you're looking at the postseason landscape in the NFC,
that did to their odds.
Is he more dangerous with the Packers than he was with the Cowboys? Absolutely. I feel that totally. But guess what? That's a Week 10 problem. That's a postseason problem. The Eagles match up against the Cowboys in 6 days. And Micah Parsons is no longer on that team. And
Plus 1,200 now.
Do you know what they were before? Do you have that?
I can find that out, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4. They're fourth highest odds, fourth shortest odds. Buffalo, Baltimore, both plus 600. Philadelphia, plus 700. Kansas City, 850. Green Bay, 1,200. And the Lions, 1,400. Commanders, 1,900. So they passed over Detroit, I think.
They have the Packers now as the second best odds in the NFC to win the Super Bowl this year. So that tells you what Vegas is thinking about their chances to compete for a championship. I don't buy it with Jordan Love, but it doesn't mean they're not a good football team, and they did get better. So there are levels to this that we will continue to break down in the coming days. What's wild is that this is not even the biggest mismanagement of a superstar in Dallas this year. If you remember, Nico Harrison, general manager still somehow of the Dallas Mavericks, trades away Luka to the Lakers. And then Jerry, just months later, does the same thing with Micah Parsons from the Cowboys. I mean, if you're a Mavericks, Cowboys, just Dallas total fan, This has got to be a nightmare stretch for
the
you.
hindsight of that, though, are you okay with it? If you're a Mavericks fan.
What are you trying to sell me on the hindsight of trading Luka Doncic away?
If you like Cooper Flagg.
That has nothing to do with it.
Well, you wouldn't have Cooper Flagg.
Sure, you shouldn't have Cooper Flagg anyway. That's not it. That's like making
But you do.
Right, but that goes to no credit of the trade. It has nothing to do. They're two totally different things. Like, it's a total lottery ping pong ball thing. Unless you believe that Adam Silver went to the Mavericks and said, trade this star to the Lakers and I will give you the number 1 overall pick because we rigged the lottery. That is the only way where that would potentially be an
I agree with what you're saying,
trade.
but I'm saying and now in the hindsight of it all, if you're a Mavericks fan, at the time you're angry. But if you say, I was angry then, but it worked out, even though it worked out by nothing that the GM actually did.
If I walk onto 76 blindfolded and cross every lane of traffic and I don't get hit by a car, it doesn't mean I made a smart decision to walk across the main highway blindfolded. It's still stupid. You just got away with it.
Right, but I'm not saying it was smart. I'm saying in hindsight, you look back, if the team ends up becoming better than the Lakers or they make you forget about him, the Nico's not going to be penalized for that. They're not going to say, you still traded him, you're fired. No, they're going to say, we're winning. Awesome.
No, they still should, because you've got to look at the process more than result. There are so many times in sports that you get a bad result from a good process or you get a good result from a bad process. You have to evaluate, are you doing the right thing day in and day out to help your teams? And 2 GMs in Dallas are not. And in just absolutely
it's a very interesting one
striking
there.
ways. Yeah, I don't know.
Like you see, obviously, I don't want to bring the Sixers and their process into this, but people were on either one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. It didn't work. It did work. It didn't work. It did. The concept worked. Look at Oklahoma City. They lost for multiple years purposely and have become champions because of their decision to lose because of the players that they acquired. The Sixers did not acquire players, but they had the opportunity to.
Right. So, like a similar process.
Correct.
Different result, which is why you just have to look at, is what you're doing smart? And trading away Luka Doncic, very much like trading away Micah Parsons, whether it works out for that organization or not, that is stupid. And you deserve to be ripped, and you probably don't deserve to have your job anymore. And the good thing for Jerry Jones is his boss is him.
Yes.
So he's going to be there for hopefully the long haul. We all hope here in Philadelphia.
By the way, Micah Parsons is the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes,
plus
he is.
600.
Yeah. So get your bets in now, folks. The NFL season gets going in just 6 days.
Jalen Carter plus 2,200 if you want to throw a little shekel.
Just a flyer there on that one. I don't
Sprinkle
know
some of Sean's money. He's got all the big bucks over there.
I don't know about that one.
Absolutely right. All right, coming up next, we will get you your Know the Show question from this 8 o'clock hour. Chance to win Phillies tickets. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Micah and Schwarber conversations, reset what we got into earlier on in the show. Just our overall reaction to a huge news day in sports and in the city of Philadelphia. Also, coming your way at 9:10, Jesse Holley, a former Cowboy, talks to us. He'll join us on the Comcast Business Hotline to talk a little bit about the Jerry Jones situation, what it's like to be a member of that organization, and his thoughts on the Micah Parsons trade. So a fun interview behind enemy lines, if you will, coming your way in the 9 o'clock hour. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber goes yard not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. He goes yard, making him the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a single game. The last Philly to do so was Mike Schmidt in 1976. And let's take a listen to number 4.
Both laces on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Phils are back in action tonight on Apple TV at 6:45 against the Braves as well. And the Eagles, they made a couple of moves this week ahead of opening night. They've reportedly adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to the practice squad. He's a former 3rd-round pick of the Niners. And they've also reportedly signing former New England Patriot wide receiver Javon Baker to its practice squad. Phillies prospect Aiden Miller was placed on the temporary inactive list. No word on why, but hope that nothing is serious. And in case you missed it, not sure where, but if you're living under a rock, o'clock, Micah Parsons is traded to the Green Bay Packers for 2 firsts and Kenny Clark. This update is brought to you by Groundworks. You're trained and certified experts for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia sports.
Touchdown!
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bowe, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Chance to win Phillies tickets comes your way in just a couple of minutes. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill. We're sitting in for John Kincade and Andrew Salciunas, who will be back on Tuesday. And, man, did we just get a blessing of a sports day yesterday to react to this morning with the Kyle Schwarber 4-homer game. The Phillies, 19 run. You know what? Okay, tell me I'm crazy here because I know I'm crazy. But is it almost unfair that Kyle Schwarber had the 4-home run game because there's so many things in that Phillies game that we have not reacted to? It's like it's 19 runs.
Good point.
And that is everybody going up to the plate with the right approach. And we're so caught up with history, and we should be. But, I almost feel bad for the rest of the team that had awesome nights as well. And it's just well, it's just the Schwarber show.
There was at one point during the game where Kruk was like everybody's got to hit and score a run. He's like, except for Marsh. Oh, Marsh, that's what kind of night it was. I mean, you had what? Let's see here. Turner, 2 hits. Sosa came in, got a hit. Schwarber had 4. Harper had 2. Romuto had 1. Marsh had 2. Bohm had 1. Kepler had 1. That was, Bader had 4. Stott had 1. I mean, Marchand came in. He got a hit. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was.
It's as good of a night as you could have hoped for. Outside of the top of the first inning.
Now, it's the night, though. You get 19. It's a party, but you can't really take anything from.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not who you are. It's not what you're going to be. It's just a fun night at the ballpark.
But again, it's part of the mentality. So much of this team that came into question, that Mets series, if you're a fan that was calling the team trash, I get it, because that's how we all felt as we watched them up in New York. But it's not an accurate representation of the quality of this team. We know they're a good baseball team, right? We know they have talent. But part of the criticism with this team is that in the big moments, they crumble. And we saw that in New York, so it was kind of the idea, okay, we knew they were capable of having great nights. Maybe not 19 runs and a 4-home-run performance from your number 2 hitter, Kyle Schwarber. But you needed to see hey, we're going to bounce back from that series. We're going to show you that we're still in this thing. Maybe we can't play at Citi Field, but hell, we can play everywhere else against anyone else. And that's where I'm feeling today. Now, the better option would be you wake up and find out how to beat your division rivals. But that can't be the show we do today because it was such a fun night at the ballpark. And speaking of division rivals, we also have the fun storyline of Micah Parsons being traded from the Cowboys for 2 first-round picks and a turning 30 defensive tackle from the Green Bay Packers in Kenny Clark, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler, but man, is that return not good enough? And clowning the Cowboys is something that we will always take advantage of here in this city and here on these air. As long as I'm allowed to sit behind this microphone, if the Cowboys do something stupid, we will make fun of them for it. That is my promise to you. As you listen to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. We are powering possibilities. Now, it's time to give away these Phillies tickets as the 8 o'clock hour comes to a close. Your question, your Know the Show question, we're going to give these away on the text line, 610-632-0975. So the first person to text in the correct answer here will get a pair of tickets to the Phillies versus the Mets on Wednesday, September 10th at Citizens Bank Park. You can get your tickets at Phillies.com. 1 pair up for grabs. And the question is, in today's headlines, Sean played a clip from a sports pundit talking about the Micah Parsons trade. Who was it? The first person to get that answer correct on the text line, 610-632-0975, will win a pair of Philadelphia Phillies tickets. So you can chime in on the text line there. But just to reset the show, the Schwarber thing, awesome. It is great to see that. It is really a bounce-back performance for him. He had a very rough series in New York. And for the Phillies. It doesn't bring me all the way back because one game can't do that. But as much as one game could, that night did. And the Micah thing may not be the best for the Eagles long-term because the Packers are a really good football team and they just got better. But for the Cowboys, it does make you just kind of scratch your head and be like, what the hell are they doing down there? And did opening night just get easier? Absolutely. Did the division just get easier? Absolutely. Did the Eagles' path get easier? Yes and no. And that'll be a fun debate to have as the season continues on. So, Mike, what a fun day yesterday it was.
Yeah, I mean, now, the Phillies game didn't happen until the nighttime portion of the game, so the Parsons thing happened first, and you're just kind of like, this is unbelievable. This is shocking. So as I said, I was hosting my daily show at the time, so I'm on every day. At 5 whatever, this comes on, and I'm like, whoa, stopped in my tracks because, we're talking about the Phillies and the demise, and I don't want to say demise isn't the right word, but just how poorly everything played. Everybody felt down, right. And we're reading off people's texts and reaction, and we're talking, and then I said, whoa, this just happened. And it kind of stopped you. It's a kind of sports story. It's another interesting like spinoff of like sports story that like stopped you in your tracks, where like you remember where you were when this news happened. Like I'll remember, like I was on the air when Micah Parsons got traded. Like he's a big deal. Like even if he's not on the Cowboys, that level of player doesn't just get traded a week before the season starts. He just happens to be on, you hate to say it, but probably the most recognizable sports brand in almost all of sports.
Yeah. Now, I keep seeing this, and I'm just reading through some of the YouTube chat, and the folks on the YouTube are going back and forth on this idea of Micah Parsons and if he's worth what the Packers are now paying him, the $188 million contract, if he was given proper compensation to the Dallas Cowboys with the 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. And people are bringing up all these numbers and what he does do and what he doesn't do. Folks, Micah Parsons is a great football player. Like that dude, and I feel much better saying this now that he's not a Dallas Cowboy. Like that dude's a monster. He is a future Hall of Famer. He does everything that you need from a get-after-the-quarterback edge rusher in the modern NFL. He is in the Myles Garrett conversation, the T.J. Watt conversation.
He's a game wrecker.
Yeah. Like he's
one-man wrecking crew.
A monster. So anyone who's trying to justify this and say, well, actually, this number says he's overrated or that number says he's overrated, what do your eyes tell you? That's a damn good football player that the Cowboys no longer have because of the incompetence of their GM. All right, congrats to Noah and Conshohocken, who's our winner of the Phillies tickets. Shout out to Noah. You won those on the text line. We're doing a lot more contests on the text line, so make sure you save it in your phone, 610-632-0975, so you can get ready. I hope for Noah's sake that the next time the Phillies face the Mets, it will be better with him in attendance there, and you can get your tickets at Phillies.com. Speaking of the text line, what do we have on the text line, Sean, on our big conversations today?
All right, let's go to Mark in Hatboro checking in. Says, I'm not worried about the Parsons trade. We have the blueprints on how to defeat Michael. He says Michael Parsons. I think that's a play from Jerry Jones. I'm not worried about Micah Parsons on the Packers.
I don't know that I'd say I'm not worried about it. Like, I'm not sitting here today like, the Packers didn't get better. Because I can't make fun of the Cowboys and say they traded away this generational talent and then look at the Packers and be like, but he's not that good. Like, I can't do both. It's one or the other.
I agree with that, but his point is kind of what I brought up earlier is when you tell me the best player on the other team's defense is that position, I feel that the Eagles have the ability to counter that by their offensive line being as good as it is.
Who is the best player on the Los Angeles Rams defense last year?
Probably Verse.
Edge rusher?
Yeah.
They gave the Eagles a damn good game.
They did. And it's 100%. I don't know. It just, when I think of, like, when they played Cincinnati last year.
Yeah.
Henderson, you didn't hear his name at all.
No.
No,
you did not.
Generally, when the Eagles play this level of edge rusher, I feel confident that if that's your best guy and he's who I have to game plan for, the Eagles are good enough to game plan to. Because if you were to say, all right, now they have Micah Parsons, who's the other guy in Green Bay, that if you're putting a lot of attention on Parsons, now this guy's going to be someone you need to pay attention to.
Absolutely. But without Micah Parsons, then all the attention is on that other guy, and then you completely don't have trouble with them.
Yeah, I don't think they have a good enough other guy.
Yeah, we will find out in Week 10. Well, actually, we'll probably find out before Week 10 because by the time we get there, we'll have a pretty darn good idea of who teams around the NFL are. But for Week 1, 6 days away, Eagles-Cowboys, you got to feel better about that game waking up today as an Eagles fan. Not that we didn't feel good about it already. All right, coming up next, really cool interview coming your way. Jesse Holley, a former wide receiver for the Cowboys.
Jersey guy,
yes. Very familiar with Jerry Jones, very familiar with that Cowboys organization. He's going to give us a little bit of a behind enemy lines look at what is going on down there in Dallas, what led to this, what the fallout is, and where this puts them for this year. Is it an auto 2 wins when the Eagles play the Cowboys this year with that organization in the disarray that they are? We'll talk to Jesse Holley coming up next. It is Kincade Salciunas. Connor Thomas, Mike Gill in for John and Andrew. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky Bo, Bill Colarulo.
This is the saddest reality of them all. I'm not leaving. Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
About the Micah Parsons trade. Huge news in the NFL. And that makes something that we're doing here at the Fanatic even more interesting. Yes, Unfiltered, the inaugural live broadcast with Ricky Bo, Bill Colarulo, and Silvana Kelleher. It's presented by Bet Parks, and you can join the Fanatic for it Thursday, September 4th. Yes, that is the date of the first game of the NFL season at Chickies and Pete's in South Philly from 2 to 6 p.m. We'll get you ready for the Birds home opener. From the center of all the action, the first 300 fans, I almost said 30, no, 300 fans get a Kelly Green Birds rally towel, courtesy of our friends at Great Railing, brought to you by Bet Parks Online Casino and Sportsbook. You bet. Bet Parks. Click events at 975thefanatic.com for all the info. That just got even more fun. It's always going to be fun with the folks from Unfiltered, but now they're leading you into a game where the Birds are playing against a Cowboys team that does not have Micah Parsons as part of their roster anymore. The trade that shook the NFL yesterday, and the return, 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle turning 30 this year. I mean, I like Kenny Clark as a player, but that's just a situation where I don't think that's equal return. So let's go to an expert on this. Jesse Holley, former wide receiver of the Cowboys, does great work talking about them with the Believe, and he knows the Cowboys inside and out, like more so than just someone who covers the team. He played for the team. So we'll talk to him as he joins us on the Comcast Business Hotline about what in the world is going on down there in the Lone Star State. Jesse, appreciate the time this morning, man.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing great. And the news, at least here in Philadelphia, brought smiles to faces for people that Micah Parsons was traded. What's your sense, just right off the bat, of how we got to this spot where he actually is traded from a team that seemed to not maybe value him as much as they should have?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I still think people are trying to wrap their minds around it. Like, not even 24 hours later, people are still trying to figure out, where did this thing take this dramatic turn where you went from wanting this player being a franchise cornerstone, being one of the best players in the National Football League, be the best player, if you're talking about position, the best of the position on your football team, to now you're trading him away. It all happened so fast, this saga between Micah and Jerry all offseason. It was something that when it first started, it was not unique to the Cowboys. It happened for Zeke, it happened for CD, it happened for Zach Martin, it happened for Dak Prescott. So we all thought it was just ho-hum, a part of what the Cowboys offseason is about. You hear Jerry Jones talk about when things are a little bit stale and with the Cowboys, that he doesn't mind stirring things up. So we all assumed, everybody assumed, deadlines makes deals. We'll get to a point right before the season starts and they'll come to a conclusion, because that's what the history has said, the way that the Cowboys and Jerry Jones and his front office, that's how they operated with their star players. And then yesterday around 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, this news comes out that Mike is being traded to the Green Bay Packers, and I think, a lot of people are still trying to put the pieces together.
Jesse Holley's with us. He's the host of the Believe in Cowboys podcast. And how many people are believing in the Cowboys now after this trade? Like, here in the Philly market, people are kind of snickering and laughing, like, you got 2 picks and a 30-year-old player for Micah Parsons? Or are people down there kind of looking at it and saying, let the dust settle and let me think about this? How is it being received in Cowboy land?
It's a bunch of mixed emotions. You have a large contingency of fans that are saying, good Rick, we don't want him. Glad he's gone. He was a headache. He's a drama queen. He's greedy. You have another contingency of fans that are saying, what are we doing? Jerry has to, Grandpa has to give the keys up. He cannot drive this ship anymore. He has to be able to let someone else who's more, logical and rational and not, ego first driven. A lot of people are saying we saw this same thing similar happen 30 years ago with the egos getting in the way and Jerry firing Jimmy Johnson, and now you trading away what people deem to be a generational talent in Micah Parsons. So you have a mixed bag of emotions from a lot of people. Also remember, this is the same DFW who not too long ago traded away another generational star in Luka Doncic to the LA Lakers. So you have a fan base who are both Mavs and Cowboys fans who are looking at their favorite sports teams and saying, what are we doing here in Dallas? What is this black cloud, this black curse over our sports teams in Dallas and DFW that we're giving away our franchise players?
Yeah, Jesse, I wish I could tell you we were shedding a tear for you up here in Philadelphia today, but I wouldn't want to lie to you.
I know you're not.
But let me ask you, because this is very unique. You've had interactions with Jerry. You played for the team. So what is it like to deal with not just a GM, but a guy who is the GM and the owner of the team and going through not just contract negotiations, but day-to-day life down there? What is the inside skinny on how Jerry runs his operations?
Jerry as a person, there isn't one person that you can find that you'll say that, if you know Jerry, that says we don't like him as a person. You get frustrated with him as a general manager because there are certain things that you look at and you go, I'm a fan, or I'm just a casual, or I'm very knowledgeable how the league works, and how are you making some of these decisions? A lot of times there is no rhyme or reason when Jerry does a lot of the things that he does from a GM perspective. But then we also know that Dale Hansen, who was a reporter here for many years, asked him a question a long time ago and said, "What NFL team will hire you, Jerry, to be their GM?" And Jerry couldn't answer the question and got mad at Dale Hansen. And that's the thing, is that Jerry, he doesn't have to pay consequences because he is the owner, he is the president, and he is the GM. So anybody who would fire the GM is him, right? He is him. He is I am him. And so there are frustrating times where you're looking up and you're saying, what are we doing? How are we gonna, how do we do something like this? Why aren't we, we had a couple years ago when Jerry made the comments in the offseason, yeah, we're going all in. And people waited and waited and waited for this all-in thing, and it never happened. Jerry's been on multiple different platforms, and he said the same thing as far as you would be shocked at the size of the check that I would sign if it knew that it would win me, it showed me that I would win a Super Bowl. And everybody's like, no, we don't believe you because you don't sign the check to do so. Yeah, you got to sign your quarterback because if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have anything, and you don't get the TV deals, and you don't get the games and so on and so forth. It's hard to sell without a quarterback. But people are saying we don't believe that you would sign a big check because you don't spend the money in the offseason. Instead of potentially sending away a generational talent, you had $34 million in cap space before you traded Micah Parsons. You didn't spend that money. You could have got a Kenny Clark type player and still kept Micah Parsons on your team, right? Like you could have done other things that would have made Micah's ability even greater instead of just saying, well, it's whatever, we'll be okay, and it was best for the team. Trading away generational talent is never, in my opinion, who is still in his prime, best for the team.
All right, Jesse Holly's with us, host of Believe in Cowboys podcast. You can get that on the Believe Podcast Network. And he played for the Cowboys. He just talked about playing for Jerry as the owner and the GM. The GM version came out and said, we got a new coaching staff. We are very proud that we have the highest paid quarterback, CD. We needed someone who could help us stop the run and give the ball back to our high-paid players. He thinks that trade makes them better now. You agree?
No. And this is no disrespect to Kenny Clark. But Kenny Clark will soon be hitting 30. Kenny Clark is not he is not in his prime anymore. Kenny Clark had some really good years in Green Bay. But the last couple of years, Kenny Clark has been really poor in the run game. And it's one thing when you have a bunch of good guys across the front line to help you, or if you have a Kenny Clark in your prime, then yeah. But in my head, I think sometimes Jerry looks at a guy like Kenny Clark and says, "Oh yeah, that's Chris Jones, or that's Sexy Dexy, or that's Jalen Carter, or that's Jeffrey Simmons," and he's not even close to being those guys right now. And so you kind of almost band-aided one hole and then left a gaping hole on the outside, because now they don't have to run up the middle anymore. They'll just run to the outside, or they'll be able to sit in the pocket as long as they want, because you don't truly have that that game wrecker rushing off the edge on the outside. Trust me, Jalen Hurts woke up this morning with a bigger smile on his face because he knows twice a year he doesn't have to deal with Micah Parsons screaming around that corner trying to get after him.
And let's round out with that, because the Eagles take on the Cowboys up here in Philadelphia in 6 days to open up the NFL season. How much did the Cowboys hurt their chances to compete in that game with the trade of Micah Parsons?
Yeah, I had the Cowboys losing the game with Micah Parsons, so they didn't help themselves at all with trying to win this football game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Right? Even with Micah Parsons, I had them losing to Philly twice this year. Philly's a stacked team, right? Like that's a ready-made team. There aren't very many holes on this Philly roster, so to speak. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the secondary. Maybe you can't, but in the interior, there aren't many holes that they have on this team, and that's where we like that a lot on the offense and defensive line going up against Philadelphia. But, you weren't going to win this game with Micah Parsons. You damn sure ain't going to win it without him. So, like I said, Saquon and Jalen and Nick Sirianni woke up this morning a little bit more. The eggs and the bacon taste a little bit better this morning because they know that they don't have to game plan for Micah Parsons for this season.
Yeah, they did. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us, Jesse. Everyone check out your work on the Believe in Cowboys podcast. And we appreciate the time. I wish I could say best of luck for the Cowboys season. I cannot say that, but we will say thank you for your time. And we'll be talking to you down the road.
Thank you, guys, man. Have a great day.
You too. Jesse Holley there, former Cowboys wide receiver. And
some other Jesse Holley knowledge.
What's that?
He won an NCAA basketball championship.
Oh, did he?
Played for UNC Tar Heels.
Look at that.
04-05. He
That's
was
a
on that
talented
team.
man right there.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was on the Michael Irvin 4th and Long show, and that's how they found him.
Wow. Yeah, and then they brought him into camp and gave him the tryout and practice squad, and then ends up making the team further down the road. So
Really
great
good
story
dude.
there.
Yeah, good dude.
Seems like it. We'll let go of the fact that he played for the Star down there. But, hey, right now, you heard what he
in
said.
New England a little bit, too.
Yeah, oh, man, he's got two of the hatred teams.
Exactly.
That's all right. Maybe the Cowboys are falling even further into irrelevancy, though Jerry will always try and
Sounded
make
like
it
he
relevant.
thinks so.
We'll react to that coming up next and get a little deeper into what he was saying about the trade and what's going on. Very, very down on the Cowboys' chances to play the Eagles, too. I think that's the right evaluation. We'll get into that coming up next as Kincade Salciunas continues here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Kyle Schwarber hits 4 home runs. I'm Sean Rodman, and this is your Fanatic Sports Update. Kyle Schwarber makes history last night, and here is history.
Both places on their feet, man. Open for number 4.
That one's drilled deep to right field. He has done it. 4 home runs in a game. A 3-run home run.
Kyle Schwarber becomes only the 21st player in MLB history to hit 4 home runs in a single game, and only the 4th Philly to do so as well. The last Philly was Michael Jack Schmidt in 1976. The Dallas Cowboys have traded Micah Parsons, in case you've been living under a rock, to the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark back to Dallas. Eagles and Cowboys open up 6 days from today at Lincoln Financial Field. Eagles have reportedly adding cornerback Ambry Thomas to the practice squad. He's a former 3rd-round pick, and as well Javon Baker, a former receiver from New England, as well to the practice squad. This update is brought to you by Audible's Romance Collection. Has something to satisfy every side of you, because you can't be pinned down unless you want to be. Your first love story is free when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audible.com. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5 TheFanatic.com.
fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Yesterday, big-time implications here in Philadelphia, both where he was and where he is now in Green Bay as a member of the Packers. So we're going to react to that here in a second. I do want to tell you a little bit, though, real quick about our Fanatic deal of the week because it's Labor Day weekend. And you know what you're going to do. You're going to be rolling around, nice weather, should be sunny out. Maybe you go down the shore. Maybe you're just hanging in Jersey. And if you find yourself in Cinnamints in New Jersey, you got to check out the Fanatic deal of the week because you can get a $50 gift card to the Jug Handle Inn for just $25. No-brainer deal. You can enjoy their famous wings, burgers, drink specials, live music, and more at the Jug Handle Inn in Cinnamints. Oh, you ask anybody in that area about the Jug, first thing they'll tell you about is the wings. But they got amazing stuff up and down their menu. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Jesse Holley says no to the idea that the...
Sadly, too. The sadness in his voice.
Yeah, that the Micah Parsons trade it could potentially work out for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he did say that there were some conflicting views down there in Dallas about, well, hey, good riddance from some in the fan base.
Yeah.
Some, how in the world are we doing this? So what did you think of his evaluation of the trade? Because you were one saying, Mike, earlier in the show, hey, maybe when the dust settles, this does actually work out.
Well, and it sounds like some people down there, you know, as he said, are conflicted. Some people say good riddance. Other people, he said, Grandpa has to give up the keys. I mean, you're never going to get a unanimous decision in the world we live in today. Everything seems to be 50-50. But, you know, I'm looking at my handwriting, which is really bad, by the way, trying to reread some of the things that he said. But one of the things I think that stands out, I asked him, are they better? He said no. And one of the reasons is, he says, Kenny Clark has been really poor in the run game. He said, no offense to him, he was a really good player. So they traded for a guy, and they're saying, okay, so if you're trying to rationalize, we don't want to pay this guy the money. Okay, fine. We feel that we're not good enough against the run. Let's get someone to help us there. You added a player who doesn't have a lot of years left in him, and the years he just had have been really poor against the run. So now you're trying to convince your fan base that we got better, bear with me, And Jesse Holley's saying, you really didn't. You got a player who's not all that good in the area that you're deficient. So I thought he gave us a lot of really good nuggets. And, by the way, you asked him a good question about the owner dynamic and the GM dynamic. And he said, as the owner, he's great. As a GM, Grandpa has to give up the keys.
Yeah, there are just so many moves that happen down there that you can't make sense of, and we celebrate all of those up here in Philadelphia. It's funny because I always thought that Jerry Jones made his money from oil, but it turns out, as we've seen in his career as an NFL owner, more of a snake oil salesman than a true oil salesman these days. He's trying to sell that fan base on something that doesn't exist.
Have you seen the Netflix thing yet?
I have
watched
not.
that? I haven't watched it either, but I have heard it's really, really, really good.
Maybe that'll give me a good laugh over the Labor Day weekend to sit there and watch that. And be like, you're going to trade Micah, though.
There's one on the Jets, by the way, on, I think it's Amazon Prime. It's a Jet one on last season. Not good. Don't waste your time.
I'm good on that.
But if you're one of these people that are like looking for these like football like documentary series where you get the inside look, the Jet one's not very good. The Cowboy one I heard is very good.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people have watched that with the interest with that team, and how they've fallen from what they used to be is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and we will continue to celebrate that. I also want to get to something that our last guest, Jesse Holley, said about this week's matchup and this season series between the Eagles and the Cowboys. But first, I want to go to the phone lines here because we got Keith in Bucks County who's been waiting patiently, wants to talk about that Micah Parsons move. Keith, you're live here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing
What's
good,
up?
Keith.
Great. Listen, I want to make two comments. First of all, anybody that doesn't think baseball is a crazy sport, look at last night. The Phillies couldn't win in Citi Field if the Mets don't even show up. Miami goes up there and puts 7 up.
Crazy,
and
right?
Wins. It's nuts. Okay, let me talk about this Micah Parsons trade, all right? First of all, he is a generational talent. He is not going to change the fortunes of the Green Bay Packers. They are not even remotely on the level of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't trust Jordan Love. They don't have a receiving corps that's anywhere near as good as the Eagles. Their defense is not even as good as the Eagles. So everybody, go enjoy your weekend. Stop stressing. Don't age yourself. This doesn't change the fate of the Philadelphia Eagles, not one iota. They are going to win the NFC. They're going to win it easily. They are the best team in football. And as Philadelphia fans, enjoy it. We don't usually get to say that our franchise is the best in the league. They are. Stop worrying about it. They're the best team in football. It's not even close. They will show you on Thursday night. I thought they were going to roll the Cowboys anyway. I already bet the game at Blazers 7.5. I also bet the over-under on the season. It took over 11.5. But now I think you're looking at 44-7.
Hell yeah,
they
Keith.
got no way to stop the field.
Dude, I love it. I appreciate the call there from Keith. That's what we call chest day here on Kincade Salciunas. Andrew Salciunas loves to say that. He'll be back in on Tuesday along with Johnny. And Keith very fired up this morning about how the Micah Parsons trade does not change anything one iota for the Birds. Now, I don't know if I go that far because I do think the Packers are still a dangerous team. Depending on what works out with how their season goes, tough division. We'll have to see what Minnesota is. We'll have to see what Detroit is, what Chicago is. I think the NFC North is the most intriguing division in football this year.
So he brought something up that made me pop my ears a little bit, which was they're the best team in the NFC, yada, yada, yada. As I said the other day with the Phillies, the teams, Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, in my lifetime, have all gone on runs when you never anticipated it happening, right? Nobody thought the 93 Phillies were any good at the beginning of the year. Sixers, the Eagles in 17. You didn't say that's a Super Bowl team. Now, this team here, they are playing as the favorite, essentially. When was the last time you entered a season and said the team is clearly the favorite or the best or I expect them to win? All the teams that have ever given us joy in this town in the last 30, 40 years, I guess, have been teams you never expected.
Yeah, but there's nothing tangible to that. All that is the scars of Philadelphia sports fandom that we need to try and get off our body from
Dude, this
what
is
we have
like
seen now.
The Philadelphia fan is like the scene in Jaws when Quint puts his leg up and shows the shark bite.
Yeah.
We love showing the scars.
And I get it. And I'm not telling you that, like, you can't remember those days, but there's nothing tangible to say that, every team that has won has been an unexpected team, and because of that, should we worry about the Eagles? That's creating a specter of doubt where there shouldn't be one. Because as Jesse Holley said, and listen, he talks Cowboys all the time. He wants the Cowboys to win. For him to say, I had them losing this game week 1 against the Eagles with Micah. I have them losing both games this season against the Eagles, and I don't think they have a chance, basically, is what he was saying there.
44-7.
That should make you feel damn good if you're an Eagles fan hearing that coming out of there. Now, we do know that while we are sometimes over positive about our teams, you can also be overly critical if you're too close to the situation, right? We love to rip our teams in this city, and that's part of the reason I love this fan base, because we are not just going to sit here and rest on our laurels. But so take everything with a grain of salt when somebody's close to the situation. For him to say that as a former Cowboy and someone who wants that team to win, the Eagles are winning week 1, there's no doubt in my mind. I'll tell you that right now. Sorry to ruin the suspense of, who are you picking? Eagles, Cowboys, week 1. The Birds are going to roll Thursday night at Lincoln Financial Field. It's going to be a beautiful night, and I cannot wait for it. That's week 1 in the NFL. Now, week 0 in college football, week 1 in college football, it's all right here around the corner as well. And while we've been going heavy on this, and we will continue to, and we'll hear on the text line what the folks are saying about Micah, and also that Kyle Schwarber guy who hit 4 home runs last night. There was some good college football on last night. I know we were zoned in on the Phillies, but when do you start turning your attention there? We'll talk about that. The Key 3 comes your way next, and plenty more on the big stories of the day with Micah Parsons and Kyle Schwarber. As we continue Kincade Salciunas here, I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill, Sean Rodman on the board, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
Kowalski punches in.
Yes.
Scores! Wagner!
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Was miserable. Not because of the fun people we get to chat with. I'm Connor Thomas along with Mike Gill here filling in for John and Andrew. They'll be back on Tuesday. Bad? No, it's not you
miserable,
at all.
He said. Miserable.
And we had Amy Fadul in on Tuesday, Andrew DeCecco in on Monday. So we've had a rotating crew. But with the Phillies stuff and everything going on with the series in New York, I thought this was just going to be one of those weeks where you're just like, get me to Labor Day. I want to go down the shore. But today has been a lot of fun to react to, both the Kyle Schwarber 4-home-run game last night, the Phillies' rout of the Braves. 19 runs, 20 hits, an onslaught of offensive performance against Cal Quantrill and the Braves. Cal Quantrill, man. Dude. That guy just stinks.
He's bad.
Yeah, he is very bad.
Felt bad for him.
Yes. Well, no.
Just, you're seeing the guy, they got to leave him out there because it's so early in the game. Now he's got to eat the innings.
Nope. We just watched the Mets demolish this team's psyche and the fan base and everything for 3 straight nights. I don't care. Cal Quantrill, sorry, man, you had a tough night. I wish they scored 40.
Had a tough season.
I wish they scored 50.
Tough season.
I wish they ran it up on him even more than they already did. But I can't get mad at 19 runs. And I can't get mad at the Cowboys trading Micah Parsons. By the way, the Phils will play the Braves again tonight, 6:45. Ranger Suarez on the mound against Bryce Elder. Ranger has been really darn good lately.
Elder has been awful, by the way. You could get another 15 runs tonight. He's got an ERA in the 6s.
Yes, 6.12 for him. And Ranger started to settle a little bit. Maybe that is another thing that Phillies fans need to see to start making us feel better about October again.
Well, as we flip the calendar this weekend to September, last night, Nola did nothing to make me feel like, okay. Yet, I still feel like I can't see Nola doing anything else other than starting a game on the playoff roster for this team. So for me, it's is Nola either A, on the playoff roster and starting, or not on the playoff roster at all? B, who pitches game 2? Ranger is everybody's favorite to go into the bullpen, but at this point, without Wheeler, you almost can't do that the way that he's throwing right now. So tonight goes a long way for him to kind of solidify, I'm the number 2 guy, and everybody else is battling for number 3. And then, by the way, tomorrow they face Chris Sale. He's tough. Strider was on the schedule for Sunday. They pulled him, so he's not ready now. So you're going to get another night where you don't have to face one of the Braves guys. This is a series you got to get 3 out of 4 in.
Yes, Sunday's pitcher is now Hurston Waldrep, one of the great names of baseball. Not a necessarily great pitcher. He doesn't have a lot of innings on the docket for this year.
Now, yesterday we talked about the infusion of youth. Watch the Mets pitcher tonight. You thought that kid that threw yesterday, McLean, was good for them?
Yeah.
Tong pitching tonight. This guy's the real deal.
I got to be honest, I'm not watching another Mets game this year unless they play the Phillies. I'm forced to.
Well, we were talking about this infusion of youth, and the Phillies just, by the way, Justin Crawford went yard again last night.
Yeah.
Another ding-dong for him. How many's that, the last week? He's got more homers this week than any other outfielder on the Phillies.
I'm done watching 2 things, all right?
Starts.
I'm done watching AAA baseball, and I'm done watching New York Mets baseball, unless they play the Phillies. I want nothing to do with any of that anymore. I'm over it. Just go out there and win baseball games. The big guys have to take care of business, and last night, the big guys did. So let's get to the text line on our big topics of the day. Sean, what do we have from the folks that have been chiming in throughout the show on the Micah Parsons conversation and the Kyle Schwarber conversation?
All right, let's start with the Micah Parsons conversations. Eric from Virginia says, not really concerned with Green Bay. We see them in Week 10. Those top 3 teams in the NFC North will beat each other up. That division winner will host a wild card game.
I don't disagree. And they say the top 3. I think it's 4 teams.
You like Minnesota?
I don't know. Here's the thing. Okay.
Cart?
I like Minnesota. I don't know if I like J.J.
Right. I mean, they won 13 games last year.
They did.
And now you're changing the quarterback, and it's almost like I have no idea. And then, of course, the other team, you got the Bears, who everybody's like, that's the team worst to first. Well, they didn't go. I don't think they finished worst last year. They finished last year?
I believe they did, yeah. Because
they did.
All three other teams were playoff
three teams made the
They had
playoffs.
to.
So that's what, everybody, 1 year, someone always goes worst to first. No, I don't know that the Bears can make that jump. But if that quarterback makes the jump, and they got a good defense.
Yeah, that NFC North division is intriguing. It just got more intriguing. But here's the thing. Lions have to fight to win that division. The
Lions are interesting.
Packers, yeah.
Without the two coordinators, and they lost Ragnow, their center. You lose your center. And I know the Eagles, were one team that were able to kind of handle the loss of a all-timer center, but I don't know that the Lions have a Cam Jurgens just hanging around there. I think that losses and losing the coordinator, now we're going to see what kind of coach Campbell really is.
Yeah, coordinators on both sides. But Lions are going to have to fight to win that division. Vikings are going to have to fight. Packers are going to have to fight. Bears are going to be pesky in some way. So the Texter's point stands that NFC North, they could beat up on each other. The division just got much easier for the Philadelphia Eagles. What else do we have on the text line, Shawnee?
All right. No name on this one, but this person saying the Schwarbombs by far made him smile over the trade from Micah Parsons. He says, not only did they erupt a sleeping giant in South Philly after a poor performances in Queen, but for me as a hitting coach, I love what Kyle is doing with an explosive, short, quick, and compact swing.
So be careful telling us you're a hitting coach on the text line. Half of Philadelphia is going to want you to take Kevin Long's job. But no, I'm glad that was what made you smile yesterday. I imagine both made every Philadelphia fan smile. But looking at what your team did versus an incompetent team in your division, I believe that's something that should make you very, very happy, even in comparison to the Cowboys.
That's a situation with the hitting coach, by the way. Everybody hates Long. The three best hitters on the team, Harper, Schwarber, Turner, they all endorsed Long. I mean, they all worked with him in Washington. The question would be, can he work with those three? Because my thing on this isn't to bash Long at all. Those three, obviously, you can't get rid of him because you're going to ruffle their feathers. But can you bring in someone else to say, hey, you guys aren't those three players. I'm going to work with Bohm and Realmuto and Stott and Marsh, somebody else to kind of have a different. That's the one thing that bewilders me with hitting coaches. You have a philosophy. Well, your philosophy can't work for every hitter. Every hitter has a different approach.
Yeah, I think the hitting coach conversation itself is a waste of time.
I agree. I'm not Kevin Long, blame him. I'm just saying if there's a guy that guys feel comfortable with, not all 9 guys have the same ability.
Yeah.
Launch angle was the big thing a couple of years ago. So you got parents paying people to teach a 13-year-old kid how to hit with a launch angle. It's that dude's not Mike Trout,
Yeah, but that exists with every major league team. It's not like the Brewers, who
I know.
The best record in baseball, are rolling in with 4 different hitting coaches for their different parts of their lineup.
Somebody had 2 different hitting coaches at a time. Kevin Cooney he's coming up after us.
Yeah.
With D, right?
Kevin and D Lineham.
So he probably knows. But there was a team that had 2 different hitting coaches, I think, at one point. And one's the power hitter guy, and the other one's the Willie McGee.
We would love that in the city. Then we'd have 2 people to try and fire. All right. It's now
I'm surprised teams haven't done that yet.
Yeah. I don't know.
I can't just blame you. I'll get 2 different coaches to do it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. It's time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, the best 3 minutes of today's show.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, today's best.
Yesterday, you were walking off the ledge. I told you today you feel a lot better. Now, do you feel better? You got Schwarbombs and Schwarbombs and Schwarbombs. Oh, my.
Not really.
Oh, man.
I mean, it was
the one that bothers me the most is he should have had a 5th. He should have had a 5th. That was the pitch. That's the home run derby pitch right there. That's the one that next year at Citizens Bank Park in the derby, he's going to get that same pitch, and he popped it up.
That's all right. I didn't need 5. 5 would have been cool.
Today, an epic day of 5 Schwarbombs. If he would have hit that out,
our conversation is going to be the same if it was 4 or if it was 5. It's still a historic feat. He ties the record for most ever hit in a Major League Baseball game. It was unbelievable, and it was just what this team needed. Listen, they got a month left of baseball, and they don't have to win me over. I'm not going... Dude, it's not football. It's not basketball. I'm not going to go into the postseason if I'm a Dodgers fan, Brewers fan, Mets fan, Phillies fan, Cubs fan, any fan, and say this team's going to win the World Series. Yeah. There's just too much up in the air. So it's not about winning me over, but I need to see that when you're in those gut check moments in the postseason, you're going to bear down and get the job done. And that Mets series broke some of that confidence for me. And beating Cal Quantrill and the Braves,
he's horrible,
does not undo what they did against the Mets. Now, Mike, for you saw last night and you said, see, this is the Phillies team that I still believe can be there. Maybe not 19 runs, obviously, but strong offensive performance. I think it's a really tough game, singular game, to evaluate. We learned something that we already knew. Kyle Schwarber can hit the hell out of baseballs. What did you learn about Aaron Nola?
Well, there's a lot there. Two things. One, I didn't learn anything about Aaron Nola. I can't take anything from that start other than he was bad again in the first inning, gave up 3 runs, and the night looked like it was going to be a disaster right from the jump, and you're thinking, I cannot trust this game in a playoff situation. If you're down 3-0 in the playoffs, now listen, you're playing the Braves with Cal Quantrill pitching. You're not facing the Braves with Cal Quantrill pitching in a playoff game. So if you're down 3-0 from the jump, all of the home runs in the night took away, or covered up the fact that Nola gave me no confidence yet again. And I think that story gets swept under the rug because of Schwarber and everything else.
Micah Parsons traded by the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round picks and a defensive tackle in Kenny Clark, who has been a 3-time Pro Bowler, but is also going to turn 30 this year. And Jerry Jones, man, I just say I love you. I appreciate you. Never give up control of that franchise. God knows you love the spotlight, and you're going to get it today on Kincade Salciunas. Because to me, that was one of the dumbest trades that I can remember in my time following the NFL. What in the world is going on down there in the Lone Star State? Jesse, appreciate the time this morning, man.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I still think people are trying to wrap their minds around it. Like, not even 24 hours later, people are still trying to figure out, where did this thing take this dramatic turn where you went from wanting this player being a franchise cornerstone, being one of the best players in the National Football League, be the best player, talking about position, the best of the position on your football team, to now you're trading him away. It all happened so fast, this saga between Micah and Jerry.
There it is, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, the best 3 minutes of today's show. We got a busy weekend ahead of us with the Labor Day holiday coming your way Monday. College football's getting rolling. Did you watch any college football last night, Mike?
Big time.
Yeah? What'd you see? Did you see that fake punt that was run for like a 60-yard
I saw the highlights of it. My
whatever?
girlfriend went to East Carolina, and I went to last year. East Carolina played NC State at the Military Bowl and at Navy. I went to that game. That game ended with like a huge brawl. I don't know if people remember. It was all over SportsCenter, but people still watch SportsCenter?
Yeah, occasionally.
So the brawl was all over the place. Those two teams hate each other. They opened up last night. Good game. Totally mismanaged by East Carolina at the end, but that got me going. I'm ready to go.
Rutgers with a win for our guy Dylan McKinnon, who I saw out there in the hallway. He's a big Rutgers guy, went there. So shout out the State University of New Jersey. 34-31 over Ohio. Does Greg Schiano have it working up there in New Brunswick? Sorry, Rutgers. But college football's back. That's something to watch. Phil's take on the Braves. And we're 6 days away from the Eagles playing the Cowboys. It is going to be busy next week. That's all our time for today on Kincade Salciunas.
By the way, we're going to be on Monday, and the Phillies are going to be playing the Brewers. It's a big series there because can they cut into that Brewer lead, who was the top team in the NL?
Absolutely. We'll be talking about that on Monday. We'll be talking about Eagles, Cowboys, diving deeper into the game. Coming up next, Kevin Cooney and D. Lynham have you as this wonderful celebration day of Kyle Schwarber and Micah Parsons never being on the Cowboys again continues.